The four parents watched for another moment before finally coming to a unanimous, unspoken conclusion. Scarlett was just telling a little white lie to keep Asher from looking bad. Lawrence and Eleanor Vance were beaming. They hadn't been wrong about her. Even now, she was still trying to talk up their son. Get her into the family. Immediately. This needed to happen yesterday. Lawrence chuckled sheepishly. Scarlett, Eleanor and I know what Asher's really capable of. You don't have to cover for the little rascal. Eleanor shot her husband a sharp glance before softening her expression. Just be honest with us, dear. A wonderful daughter-in-law, like you will always have a place in the Vance family. As for that whole investment thing, she trailed off, her sentence hanging in the air. It wasn't that she didn't trust her future daughter-in-law. It was that her son had to actually be capable of such a feat. Did he have what it took to drop tens of billions in liquid assets on oil futures in one go? Of course not. Not unless pigs suddenly sprouted wings. Scarlett blinked, trying again. Mr. and Mrs. Vance, it's true. But the more she tried to explain, the more it backfired. It only made them think this girl is incredible. She's completely out of our son's league. If it weren't for their family's wealth and influence, and the crucial fact that Scarlett clearly didn't despise Asher, but actually seemed to genuinely like him, a woman of her caliber could have any man she wanted. Asher's toes were curling so hard inside his shoes, he was pretty sure he could build a 3-bedroom condo in there. Maybe even sculpt a whole new universe. She-devil, have mercy on me. Please, for the love of God, stop talking. My parents' affection meter is already maxed out. It's about to overflow. Also, I honestly don't remember ever telling you about the stock market play. You can't possibly be hearing my thoughts, can you? Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received plus $888 in cash. Asher mentally rolled his eyes. He'd probably forgotten about some embarrassing slip-up and blocked it from his memory. Who was he, after all? He was a man with a system. He had a cheat code for life. Why would he ever worry about being outmaneuvered? The system might screw over anyone else, but it would never screw over him. After dinner, Eleanor and Lawrence exchanged a meaningful look with Richard and Victoria Jo. The objective was clear: get Asher to take Scarlett for a drive. In short, create some alone time for the young couple. This time, Anya didn't interfere. She might seem endearingly clueless, but she understood the basics. The main course went to Scarlett. The appetizer was for her. She knew the hierarchy. So, Chloe took on the temporary duty of looking after Anya, while Asher and Scarlett made their exit. A classic divide and conquer. Inside the sports car, Asher racked his brain, but couldn't figure it out. Where had Scarlett gotten her intel about the crude oil bonds? Since he couldn't deduce it, he had to ask. Asher did his best to sound calm and collected. How did you analyze the market and decide to buy crude oil futures? Scarlett winked at him, a playful, intoxicating smile on her lips. You want to know? Whenever the she-devil used that seductive tone, Asher knew a trap was being laid. A pit he was duty-bound to fall into. He was just too damn curious. Yes, he said, his neck stiff as he nodded. Scarlett counted on her fingers, her smile radiant. If you want to know, you have to eat some candy first. There's still 4 packs left. You're not trying to save them for the wedding, are you? Asher's face froze. Damn it all to hell. The law is powerless against this woman. Why does she have to be so damn sweet? She has me wrapped around her little finger every single time. My plotline. After a brief, soul-searching internal battle, which was mostly just his curiosity overpowering everything else, they pulled up to a high-end hotel nearby. To Asher's surprise, the she-devil was already prepared with the tools of the trade. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Do you carry those around with you? You mean these? Scarlett purred, dangling the small, foil-wrapped package. It's always best to be prepared for an emergency, don't you think? Asher immediately regretted asking. But hey, they were already here. His body was no longer his own. With a practiced understanding, they both knew they wouldn't go all the way. The meaning of marriage wasn't so shallow as to be purely biological. They were human beings, and while physical intimacy was a basic need, it wasn't an essential one. Some things were only meaningful at the right time, in the right place, with the right person. That's what Asher thought, and he acted on it, not pushing for more. Scarlett was thrilled. If Asher had wanted to go further, she would have feigned reluctance before agreeing completely. Feigned reluctance equals 100% yes. But he hadn't. Tonight had left her feeling ecstatic, both mentally and physically. When a person is that happy, they tackle everything with renewed vigor and energy. That's how it started for Scarlett, at least. But as time went on, she realized things were far from simple. Meanwhile, Chloe wasn't in a hurry to take Anya home. She decided to wander around with her, partly to clear her head, and partly because she was intensely curious about where her brother had moved, and what exactly her dear Anna had been up to over there. "Anna, you're staying in my brother's place, right?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "What's the apartment complex like? Is the neighborhood nice?" Anya, being truly casual, replied simply, "Yes. It's fine. Everything is good." Whether it was casual or not, Chloe couldn't tell. That was just how Anya spoke. Sometimes her sentences had no beginning, other times no end. Chloe was used to it by now. Chloe sighed in frustration. What the hell, it's fine. Everything is good, even mean. She needed a translator. Fine, she'd have to keep digging. But after some gentle prodding, she still came up with nothing of substance. Chloe had to admit defeat. Damn it, they're getting married, and the bride isn't me. I'm so furious, it's not fair. Chloe screamed internally. Unconditional love was a beautiful, noble thing. But love without a dose of reality was just a fantasy. The alliance between the Vance and Joe families was set in stone. One look at their parents' faces tonight confirmed it. This new life wasn't a total loss, she mused. At least Ash won't have to die in front of me again. Leo Flynn's schemes won't succeed. Just seeing him alive is enough to make me happy. Isn't it? What more could I possibly ask for? Chloe mumbled to herself, then smiled. It was a bleak, tragic smile for about a second. Then, the mood shifted dramatically. Her smile turned devious, almost lecherous. It was a good thing Anya was sitting next to her. Anyone else would have been seriously creeped out. Why the creepy smile? Because she'd just had a breakthrough. I'm such an idiot. I want Ash, but I can't disrupt the current situation. So why not just do it? Secretly, a little misdirection, a covert operation. Knowing Scarlett's open-minded personality, she'd probably be willing to share a piece of the pie, right? Jessica Young is playing a long game, but there are too many players and not enough. Well, and I never pick a side before, so this isn't a betrayal. This is just finding the right team. Chloe grinned, her eyebrows arching. Now, I just wonder if Scarlett will agree. The next morning, in a presidential suite of a five-star hotel, sunlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains. Scarlett curled up like a kitten, her limbs heavy and weak. Last night's encounter with Asher had been a revelation. She'd heard the legends, but seeing the beast in person was another story. It was a leviathan, a force of nature. Any woman who truly loved Asher would, upon witnessing the reality of the situation, immediately beg him to go find a mistress. Let some other vixen help carry the burden. After all, with great power comes great responsibility. One shouldn't overexert oneself, and one certainly shouldn't overexert others. In short, as long as they genuinely liked Asher, Scarlett wouldn't mind. Before, she might have said that while secretly feeling a little possessive. But now, her words and actions were in perfect alignment. There was only one bottom line. She had to be his first and only legal wife. As for Asher, he woke up feeling energized. "You son of a bitch system," he muttered to himself. "You keep pumping me full of these buffs. If I ever end up in the ICU because of this, I swear I'll kill off the protagonist before I go. Next time, skip the stamina upgrades. Give me something else." After grumbling for a bit, Asher yawned. His film shoot was in the afternoon, so he could head over later. He decided to close his eyes and meditate for a moment, trying to calm his morning. Enthusiasm. Come on. There was a supermodel lying next to him. Any normal man would have a reaction, let alone Asher, whose physical attributes were far beyond normal. A moment later, he felt a tickle on his nose, accompanied by a soft, disgruntled mumbling. "You big dummy. It's morning, time to get up. I'm the one who did all the hard work, Asher opened his eyes. Scarlett was awake, propped on her side with her chin in one hand. With the other, she was tickling him with a strand of her waterfall-like hair. He grabbed her mischievous hand, grinning. "Stop that. I've been up for a while." Scarlett's cheeks puffed out. "Jerk. Then why didn't you wake me? I wanted you to get some more rest," he explained. She rolled her eyes so hard they nearly did a full rotation. "If you were so concerned, why didn't you cut things short by half last night?" "No, wait. Even half would have been a challenge." The thought sent a shiver of both fear and excitement through the reigning queen of commerce. Why reigning? Because her reign had already begun. Her cheeks flushed, and her heart pounded. If you really felt sorry for me, you'd go find other women to help you. Whoa, I never thought I'd see the day the she-devil got scared. Damn, this is on me. I can't blame anyone else. But is she being serious? Asher wasn't foolish enough to take her words at face value, where she was just saying it but didn't mean it. That would be a disaster. Find them where? "From now on, you're all I need," Asher said, and he meant it. These leisurely days were numbered. Soon, with Leo Flynn's continued infiltration of Vance Corporation, he'd be too swamped to have time for anything else. The show must go on, and he had a role to play opposite the Dragon King. The faint, sweet scent rising from Scarlett's body was a potent stimulant. Asher felt his self-control wavering. To hell with it. Hey, little wolf. You big dummy, what are you doing? No, 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 no. Scarlett yelped, a mix of panic and amusement in her voice as she tried to fend him off. She was just too tired. Asher wasn't the type to force himself on anyone. The she-devil had waved the white flag. He relented, glancing at the clock. It was past 10. Don't worry about work today. I'm giving you the day off, he said, getting dressed. Scarlett giggled. Well, in that case, your humble servant thanks you, darling. What do you want to eat? You're getting it from me. Asher smiled. For today, I'm your personal delivery guy. Scarlett pouted her sexy lips. Only for today. Don't be greedy, he said, half laughing. She nodded in agreement. You're right. She couldn't be greedy. Not when she didn't have the strength to back it up. Without calling in reinforcements, she was doomed. Even though Asher's words made her heart melt, the reality was stark. She couldn't handle this alone. Girls, get back here soon. Can you give me some loasafen? Asher blinked. Isn't that the stuff that supposedly smells terrible? You really want to eat that? Scarlett nodded. I've seen people eat it, and it looks pretty good. I want to give it a try. Asher threw up his hands. All right. It was the same principle as Limburger cheese or durian. People who liked it loved it. People who didn't would run for the hills at the first whiff. Asher walked out of the room, muttering to himself, I never knew the she-devil had such intense taste. I wonder if river snail noodles are actually good. Should I try some with her? After Asher left, Scarlett grabbed her phone. First, she checked her social media to see if anyone had messaged her. The moment she opened the app, she saw that the group chat she'd created for the Heroines had exploded. 99 plus notifications, with dozens of people tagging her. She quickly scanned the messages. It was about her wedding to Asher being moved up. Lawrence and Eleanor had officially announced a new date, sometime this week. With the wedding fast-tracked, there was a lot to do. Invitations had to be reprinted and resent, among other trivial matters. The chat blowing up was entirely predictable. So Dad and Mom really did move the date up, Scarlett murmured, a grin spreading across her face. Whether it was sooner or later didn't matter. What mattered was the clear, unwavering stance Lawrence and Eleanor had taken. Her position as Asher's official wife was unshakable. No one could take it from her now. It didn't matter if someone else contributed more to the family fortune. Some things couldn't be measured in money. Value is subjective. Give an ancient vase to someone who knows nothing about antiques, and it's just a piece of junk, a chamber pot. Give it to an expert, and it's a priceless artifact worth millions. Ha! This is fun. So much fun. Come take the spot from me if you can, she whispered. Even through the screen, Scarlett could practically smell the sour scent of jealousy wafting from the other heroines. It was true what they say. You always want what you can't have, and those who are loved are always fearless. I'm keeping the title. As for everything else, you all can do as you please. I'm not an unreasonable woman, you know. Scarlett's long fingers danced across the keyboard, tapping out a reply to the jealous women. She wasn't just making empty promises. She genuinely intended to share. The Revengers group chat Scarlett Joe. It's just a wedding. What's everyone freaking out about? Her message was a torpedo in a fish pond. Boom. The fish went flying. Zara Thorne at Scarlett Joe. Don't act so casual. If you don't care, then don't get married. Jessica Young. Scarlett, you've gone too far this time. Do you realize that? Serafina Hayes. +1 Cassie Lee. Peeking _emoji. Jiff at Lena, and what do you think about this? Seeing the replies, Scarlett couldn't help but laugh. Scarlett Joe at Zara Thorne, your family always did love a good joke. If I didn't love Asher, would I be marrying him? Zara Thorne. Jessica Young. Scarlett, you need to remember that you're not the only one who likes Asher. Ever hear of first come, first served? Scarlett Joe, TSK. Jessica, listen to yourself. Imagine an employee who joins a company. He's mediocre, never gets a promotion, but he's been there for over a decade. Then a new, talented employee comes along and makes the company millions. By your logic, the manager position should go to the old-timer, not the new talent. Do you really think that's fair? Jessica Young, you can't measure matters of the heart with money. Zara Thorne. Exactly. What a shallow woman. Serafina Hayes. +1 Cassie Lee. Is Lena filming again? Why isn't she responding? Raina Gao. _helpless_pitiful. Jiff. Scarlett Joe. Everyone calm down. I never said I wanted to keep him all to myself. At Jessica Young, I don't mind sharing with you, you know. You'll see later. But let's be clear, the position of wife is mine. And do you want to know why the wedding was moved up? Jessica Young. Zara Thorne. Serafina Hayes. Seeing the once lively chat fall silent, Scarlett smiled. Her fingers flew across the screen. Scarlett Joe, some things. I'm just not going to tell you. Meanwhile, Scarlett's provocative words had ignited a firestorm. What do you mean, you're not going to tell us? Raina already found out the truth for us. So what if you gave him a lot of money? Does that mean you can do whatever you want? Does giving more money mean you can? Hiss, wait a minute. Apparently, it did. The wedding had been moved up, hadn't it? A private message notification popped up. It was from Jessica. Jessica Young. What do you mean by that? Scarlett Joe. What do I mean by what? Jessica Young. Don't play dumb with me. You said sharing. Is that something you can just share? This was exactly what Scarlett had expected. She'd cast the line, and the fish had taken the bait. Scarlett Joe. Ha. Oh, intersection or intersection. Oh, honestly, Jessica, I'd rather not share him with you. But we're like sisters, aren't we? Closer than real sisters, even. Oh, by the way, it seems your little sister Catherine likes Asher too. As a woman, I can sense it. She's probably just holding back because she's afraid of hurting you. Jessica Young, what? Are you trying to drive a wedge between me and Kate? Scarlett Joe, not at all. I was just thinking we could invite your sister to join us. Sisters should stick together, right? After all, little sisters are meant to be cherished and protected. Not like some women who would throw their sisters under the bus for money and worldly possessions. Jessica's eyelid twitched. Just when the conversation was getting somewhere, Scarlett had started with the veiled insults again. Did she need money? Did she lack any material possession money could buy? What she lacked was Asher. Her childhood sweetheart. Asher. Jessica Young. Scarlett, the only thing you're good at is running that mouth of yours. You must have had a lot of practice. Don't try too hard, though. If you wear out your lips, I'll be heartbroken for you. Because no one else will be. Not even Asher. Only I will care about you, my dear sister. Scarlett Joe, you have a point. It did get a little worn out yesterday, I think. Jessica froze. What was Scarlett implying? Was she really that kind of promiscuous woman? Jessica's eyes narrowed. She knew it. Scarlett was just as trashy on the inside as she looked on the outside. Disgusting. Utterly disgusting. You're finished, you little witch. A cold, mocking smile spread across Jessica's face as an idea sparked in her mind. Heh, you're finished, you little witch. Jessica's plan was simple, brutal, and effective. What man wouldn't reject a promiscuous woman? If she could be with you today, she could just as easily put a metaphorical knife in your back tomorrow. You can guard against thieves day and night, but you can never guard against the one sleeping next to you. It was every man's cautionary tale. Before you get married, open your eyes. Looks are one thing, but for a lasting relationship, it's about character, and more damn character. A woman's personality is the deciding factor for any man looking for a lifelong partner. Bad personality? Sorry, you're out. Scarlett, it's one thing to be foul yourself, but don't you dare drag my ash down with you. Jessica fumed internally. A woman needs to have some basic decency. If you can't even be faithful, what's the point? Try again in your next life. She was already weighing her options. Should she tell her childhood sweetheart first, or go straight to Asher's parents? His parents probably wouldn't be convinced by a few screenshots. But Asher, she only wanted Asher. It was worth a try. Across town, Asher returned with the loasaphane. Whoa, that smell is intense, he said, placing the takeout bag on the table. Scarlett sniffed the air, a sophisticated smile gracing her lips. It seems fine to me. If you really can't handle it, I can order you something else. Asher shook his head. We already bought it. I might as well try it. Online, people claimed loasaphane smelled like raw sewage. Asher thought that was a bit of an exaggeration. It was fine, clean and hygienic, just with a unique aroma. Scarlett pulled out her phone. Darling, do you mind if I take a picture for my social media? Asher paused, then shrugged. What's there to mind? Go right ahead. He wasn't that petty. Taking pictures of food was standard operating procedure for most women, wasn't it? He was just a little surprised that Scarlett Joe, the future heir to one of the 4 great families, had the same habit. You learn something new every day. A mischievous, villainous smile crept across Scarlett's face. She was a villain, after all. Okay, then I won't hold back, darling. Women were so fickle. One second he was a big dummy, the next he was darling. Life was a chaotic, unpredictable mess. Before Asher could process it, the sound of the camera shutter clicked repeatedly. His expression turned to one of pure befuddlement. The she-devil had turned the camera on them, taking a selfie that included him. Scarlett held up her phone, making a peace sign for the camera, positioning herself on one side of the frame and Asher on the other. I got your permission, she said with a grin. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought she was just taking food pics. Oh well, a man had to be magnanimous. It was just a few photos. No big deal. I know, he replied, picking up his chopsticks and staring into the bowl of noodles, swallowing hard. This was going to be an experience. You should eat, too. It'll get cold. With that, Asher ignored the she-devil and began his mission. He started with a sip of the broth. Not too salty, not too bland, delicious. The crimson broth looked intimidatingly spicy, but the heat was actually mild, just enough to enhance the flavor. Asher's eyes lit up. Okay, this is actually good, he admitted, as Asher slurped his noodles and bit into a deep-fried duck foot. Recommended add-on. Scarlett was busy. She put her own meal on hold for a more pressing matter, tormenting Jessica Young. That woman thought she could do whatever she wanted just because she'd known Asher longer. To be honest, Scarlett didn't mind sharing the scraps with the other heroines, as long as they didn't cross her lines. But Jessica's blatant attempt to usurp her position was infuriating. Scarlett was going to show her who the real queen was. You knew Asher first. So what? I still lapped you on the racetrack and left you in my dust. So you're a little older? Is that something to be proud of? Private message to Jessica Young. Scarlett Joe. Photo of Lossifin. JPG selfie of Scarlett and Asher eating. JPG screenshot of Scarlett's new phone wallpaper. The selfie with Asher. JPG. Scarlett Joe. Carrot carrot. Hee, this one looks pretty good. I think I'll make it my chat background. And this one could be my phone wallpaper. Her laughter was like a silver bell. She sounded like a little girl who had just gotten the doll she'd always wanted. Scarlett was on cloud 9. But where there is joy, there is also sorrow. Crash. In a luxurious office, the sound of things being thrown echoed off the walls. Bastard. That woman. How dare she? Jessica Young was stomping her feet in a rage, sweeping everything off her desk to vent her fury. She was the one who was here first. He promised to marry her when they were kids. He said he'd make her his bride. Was this his promise? She wasn't blaming Asher. Her hatred was directed entirely at Scarlett Joe. Just when heaven had granted her the ability to hear Asher's thoughts and understand his true intentions, this vixen had appeared out of nowhere and completely bewitched him. That's what she truly hated. Jessica's teeth ground together as her fingers flew across her phone's keyboard. Jessica Young, you certainly have your methods, Scarlett. I'm impressed. Scarlett Joe, you're not so bad yourself. Jessica, we're two of a kind. By the way, I'm eating right now. Want to join? Join your ass. Jessica seethed. What do you want me to do? Eat your leftovers. Or do you want to humiliate me in person, right in front of Ash? This woman was utterly despicable, using Asher's thoughts to get insider information and cash out on the markets. She was a disgrace. Jessica Young, don't get too smug. Ever hear the saying, leave a bridge for yourself to retreat over? I know all about your little secrets, and I'm not afraid to talk. Scarlett Joe. Oh, you've misunderstood. You see, what happened last night was, at $dollar at hiss. After reading the message, Jessica gasped, a deep blush spreading across her face. Her cheeks felt like they were on fire. This woman was too much. She had no shame. What was she trying to do? Jessica was so flustered her head was spinning. She swallowed hard, then held up her 2 index fingers in the air, one on the left, one on the right, as if measuring something invisible. No way. Is that even human? She whispered, her eyes wide. She suspected Scarlett was bluffing, trying to scare her into backing down. That filthy woman is rotten to the core, Jessica muttered, her face still bright red. How can anyone talk about such things so openly? The world would descend into chaos. It was like one of those motivational speakers who was actually a scam artist, shouting fake numbers from a stage while paid actors in the audience cheered. Jessica quickly came to a conclusion. Scarlett was exaggerating. She wouldn't believe her outlandish claims unless she saw them with her own eyes. Jessica Young, Scarlett, you've gone too far. Scarlett Joe, I've told you the truth. Whether you believe it is up to you. There's nothing more to say. Jessica Young, let's put that aside for a moment. Let me propose something. Look, I'm at a marriageable age. I'm not getting any younger. Let me have Ash for now, and I'll give him back to you later. I'm older, so I should go first. Scarlett Joe, TSK. Older? I don't think so. Do you not own any mirrors at your office or at home? If not, I can have some delivered. Take a good, long look at yourself every day, think it over, and then come talk to me. Jessica wanted to scream. Playing the age card didn't work. Playing the pity card didn't work. What the hell did this woman want? If she pushed her too far, Jessica was prepared to burn everything to the ground. If she couldn't have him, no other vixen would either. Jessica Young, fine, you're the big shot, you're so impressive, your assets can do things none of the rest of us can. So what do you want? What do I want? You're asking me what I want. Is there something wrong with Jessica Young? I've already made myself perfectly clear, Scarlett muttered under her breath, a delicate frown on her face. Scarlett Joe, Jessica, I'll say it one more time, so you hear me clearly. I don't want anything. The offer to share is real, but the position of wife can only be and must be mine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to eat. In her office, Jessica's heart pounded. To say she wasn't tempted would be a lie. And who was she lying to? She was all alone. Jessica stroked her chin, her brow furrowed. How much of what Scarlett says can I actually believe? She claimed she didn't mind sharing, but who knew what she'd be thinking down the line? Jessica bit her lip, torn. What should she do? Until she figured out what Scarlett was really playing at, she refused to bet her entire future on someone else's promise. It was too risky, too uncertain. What have you been texting about for so long? The food's getting cold, Asher commented casually. Scarlett smiled, tilting her head slightly. You want to know who I was chatting with? Nope, not at all, Asher said, shaking his head quickly. She's trying to make it seem like I'm some kind of controlling husband. Am I that kind of person? I'd be happy if you told me, and not happy if you didn't. Yeah, that's about right. A man's words, actions, and true intentions were a tangled web. Scarlett heard his thoughts and burst out laughing. I was talking to your childhood sweetheart, Jessica Young. Oh, I see, cough, cough. Asher cleared his throat, waving his hand dismissively. Let's eat. I really don't care. Scarlett shot him a look. Heh, the little wolf is being dishonest again. She didn't press the issue and started on her noodles. She'd eaten much uglier-looking insects before. What was a bowl of pungent noodles? The last dish had looked unappetizing. This one smelled unappetizing. But it was fine. If Asher could stomach it, so could she. A wife follows her husband's lead, after all. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office of Marcos Industries. Useless. Incompetent. A bunch of goddamn amateurs. What am I even paying you for? Leo Flynn roared. The so-called master hackers he'd hired hadn't even caught a glimpse of Reina Gao before their own systems were compromised. Leo felt a burning slap of humiliation across his face. Who the hell were these people? Each one was more useless than the last. Seeing the Dragon King's fury, Manny Marcos knew to make himself small. He immediately adopted a servile tone. You're right, these clowns deserve to be fired. Please, calm your anger, Dragon King. I'll go recruit another team right away. Leo had lost count of how many teams they'd gone through. He was exhausted, but with no other options, he waved a dismissive hand. Fine, fine. Just go. After Manny left, Leo stood up, his expression sour. If these guys keep failing, am I going to have to go back to that little brat? Leo frowned. He was always the one driving a hard bargain, always the one coming out on top. But with Kevin Gao, he met his match. When it came to being ruthless, Leo felt like an amateur compared to that kid. He was pretty sure if you cut Kevin Gao open, his heart would be pitch black. And that was the only thing that truly pissed Leo off. What? That Asher Vance is getting married in a few days. Leo's expression morphed from shock to pure rage. That bastard has ruined my plans time and time again. If it weren't for him, I'd be feasting by now. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Every single time a woman was about to fall for him, Asher would show up and spoil everything. Once or twice was a coincidence, but this was a pattern. Leo wanted to kill him. Manny pushed the door open. Dragon King, tomorrow night, a retired general from D.C. is hosting a banquet here in New York. Should we attend? A banquet? Hosted by a general? This was a golden opportunity for networking. There was no way Leo would miss it. Yes, of course we're going. Excellent. I've secured us an invitation. We can go when the time comes. Manny paused, realizing he should probably share the other important details. What seemed minor to him might be crucial to the Dragon King. Ahem. Dragon King, there's one more thing. Leo's eye twitched. Are you my damn father? Can you just say everything at once? Stop with the dramatic pauses. You're asking for a beating, kid. Manny, you've been with me for a while. You know my temper. Next time, if you think something is important, just report it. Don't drag it out. Manny's expression flickered. He quickly apologized, then continued. Dragon King, it's about the retired general. He has a stunningly beautiful granddaughter. They say her standards are incredibly high. None of the young masters in D.C. have been able to catch her eye. While most of them are interested in business or politics, his granddaughter is obsessed with martial arts. I thought you two might have a lot in common. Obsessed with martial arts? And beautiful? Leo latched onto the keywords. After a moment, he said, Do you have a picture? He wanted to be sure this time. What if the rumors were false, and she was hideous? That would be like winning the lottery, only to find out you were holding last week's ticket. He wasn't about to relive that kind of bitter disappointment. Manny was stumped. Where the hell was he supposed to get a picture? She was a general's granddaughter, heavily protected. They wouldn't just plaster her photo everywhere. Was he insane? For a second, Manny felt a primal need to protect every bamboo shoot in a 50-mile radius from Leo's destructive idiocy. Ahem. There's really no photo because... Manny explained the situation awkwardly. Leo listened and had to admit it made sense. Just like with the Thorne family, his hesitation had cost him, and Zara had ended up with Asher. He couldn't let that happen again. Otherwise, he'd have nowhere to go cry when someone else beat him to the punch. All right, I get it, Leo said, waving his hand. By the way, Seraph has been undercover at the Vance household for a while now, right? We haven't heard a thing from her in days. Is she slacking off? Dragon King, I was just about to bring that up. Leo blinked, and Manny continued. Our Dragon's Den contacts overseas reported that Seraph had her followers move some of her belongings. Combined with her perfunctory attitude lately, it's highly likely that she's about to betray us. Betray us? Perfunctory? Leo thought back, and it all clicked into place. Get Seraph on the phone. Tell her to come see me. Now. Manny nodded and dialed. A moment later, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. Leo and Manny stared at each other in silence. Call again. Leo ordered, his face grim. Manny obeyed. After another few attempts, the result was the same. Leo's expression was thunderous. What was that traitor Seraph playing at? Had she really turned on him? Unbelievable. He'd sent her to be a double agent, and she'd turned into a triple agent. Who could he even complain to? Was his Dragon's Den not good enough for her? Or did that trashy rich kid Asher have something that won her over? Leo couldn't figure out. It couldn't be for money. Cassie Lee wasn't motivated by money. He would sooner believe she'd stayed for another woman. But where would Asher find so many beautiful women? Dragon King, what should we do now? Manny asked, seeking guidance. Leo's brow furrowed. Call her one last time. If she doesn't answer, then she can't blame me for being ruthless. Send Nemesis to assassinate her. Hiss. Manny shuddered. Send Nemesis? That was a death sentence for Seraph. But then again, what organization tolerated traitors? Manny did as he was told. Finally, the call connected. He immediately put it on speaker. A woman's impatient voice came through, as if they'd interrupted something important. Hello? Why are you calling me? Leo and Manny froze. It actually went through. Why are we calling you? You don't have a clue? Leo snatched the phone from Manny's hand. Seraph, come see me. Immediately. The commanding tone clearly irritated Cassie. I'm busy with an urgent matter. I can't get away. Huh, can't get away? Or we don't want to come. Leo shot back with a cold laugh. Cassie paused for a moment. Do you think I haven't been doing my job? I've already uncovered some bombshell intelligence. Still putting on an act when you're about to die? How dare you? Fine. Then tell me, what is this bombshell intelligence? Leo didn't believe her for a second. He might have doubted Manny's suspicions before, but Cassie's evasiveness and delayed response confirmed it. She was done with the Dragon's Den. Normally, if you wanted out, you just had to pay the exit fee and leave. But Seraph had taken his resources, done nothing, and then defected. That, Leo could not tolerate. She had to die. On the other end of the line, Cassie composed herself. Vance Corporation spent a massive amount of capital, something like $100 billion, to acquire crude oil bonds. Leo listened with a dismissive sneer. So they invested a lot of money. How much could they possibly make? Was that something to be so dramatic about? Leo didn't pay much attention to the stock market. He had people for that. But Manny, standing beside him, was staring with wide-eyed horror, as if he'd just seen a ghost. Holy crap, what the hell is going on? All that liquid capital dumped into crude oil bonds? The Vances are about to launch themselves into the stratosphere. Manny's face was a mask of pure shock. He knew all about the price of oil futures. Leo noticed Manny's strange reaction. What's wrong? Is this news really that explosive? Explosive was an understatement. It was insane. It was a cow launching into orbit. Manny was at a loss for words. It was only because the Dragon King didn't understand the market that he was so calm. He dreaded to think how Leo would react once he explained the full situation. Would he lose his mind? Probably not, right? After a moment of hesitation, Manny decided to tell Leo the truth. Not because Leo was particularly capable, but because he was the Dragon King of the Dragon's Den, and more importantly, his boss. A few minutes later, Leo's expression shifted from dismissive to dumbfounded, and finally to utter shock. This was beyond ridiculous. He had been plotting how to weaken the Vance family, and now, before he could even make a move, they had activated a cheat code and powered up to God tier. How the hell was he supposed to compete with that? He was about to unleash his ultimate move, and they had already won the game. Damn it. That Asher, that whole damn Vance family, is outrageous. Leo couldn't help but curse. He was starting the game with a wooden sword, and Asher was spawning in with full raid gear. This wasn't even a game anymore. Manny stood silently, staring at the floor, adopting the posture of a meditating monk. There was nothing to say. After venting, Leo picked up the phone again. Are you certain about this? Tens of billions invested in crude oil bonds, right at the precipice of a market surge. A pig could fly in that tailwind. No, that was an insult to pigs. They were going to soar. The move was so audacious, Leo couldn't fathom where the Vances got the confidence to bet the farm on it. And they were about to be rewarded handsomely. If someone told him they could see the future, Leo might actually believe it. The whole thing was just too incredible. Or maybe the analytical departments of these major corporations were just that good, staffed with geniuses who could predict market trends with near-perfect accuracy. I worked my ass off to get this intel, and you're still questioning me? Fine, don't believe me then. Cassie's tone was sharp. To Leo, it sounded like she was deliberately being difficult. Haha, if you say so, Seraph, then I believe you. I'm not an unreasonable man. This is excellent work. Leo laughed heartily. It was better to believe it than not. What if it was true? The intel was certainly explosive enough. Without this information from Cassie, he'd have been in the dark for who knows how long. While there was little he could do to counter the Vances now, at least he could prepare. For now, losing Seraph as an informant would be a significant blow. If she truly had betrayal in her heart, he could always have Nemesis take care of her later. You've been in New York for a while. I've been meaning to take you out to dinner. Are you free today? Leo pressed, unwilling to give up. Business was business, but he needed to see her in person. Dragon King, I am really busy. Cassie's voice was now dripping with annoyance. This man was testing the limits of her patience. Did he think she was a pushover? What could you possibly be so busy with? Leo asked, confused. A woman's sultry cry echoed through the phone. Anyone with a pulse knew what that sound meant. Leo's face turned green. I sent you to work as a double agent, and you're out picking up girls? Unbelievable. As a Dragon King, he wasn't living nearly as freely as she was. Seraph, you're taking this too far, Leo said, his voice tight with frustration. He was having a string of bad luck lately, and his mood was already foul. All the top-tier women he was interested in kept flocking to Asher, while he was left with scraps. Who wouldn't be pissed off? Dragon King, this is my private life. I've completed my official duties. It's all written clearly in the contract. You can check it yourself. If there's nothing else, don't call and disturb me. I'm afraid Asher might get the wrong idea. He comes into the office to check on things from time to time. If he sees us talking, my cover will be blown. Okay, that's all. Click. The line went dead, leaving a stunned Leo standing alone, lost in the wind. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? After a brief philosophical crisis, he returned to reality. Something about what Seraph said fell off, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. On her end, Cassie was unconcerned. The truth would come out sooner or later. By revealing it now, she was temporarily shutting Leo up, buying herself more time to slack off at her new, much cushier job. That evening, Asher came home from the film set. He had barely sat down when his phone rang. Hello? Dad, what is it now? Kid, if it wasn't important, I wouldn't be calling you. All right, fine. What is it? Asher wasn't in the mood to argue with his old man. Typically, a villainous rich kid like him was supposed to be an arrogant, brainless fool who argued with everyone, especially his family, while they bent over backward to clean up his messes. Asher might be a villain, but he wasn't interested in the brainless, troublemaking aspects of the role. Arguing with his family just for the sake of it was a sickness, and he was perfectly healthy. Lawrence's tone softened slightly, though he still tried to sound stern. His daughter-in-law was a powerhouse, while his son was, well, his son. If it wasn't for the Vance family's influence, they probably would have been screened out at the first meeting. He still didn't understand why Scarlett had suddenly fallen for his son, but he worried the affection was unstable. After all, everyone is a visual creature, especially in a society where morals follow facial features. But what truly makes a relationship last is personality. And his son's personality was, frankly, terrible. He slacked off at work and spent his evenings at spas and massage parlors. What woman could tolerate that? Lawrence took a deep breath. All right, listen. Tomorrow night, your honorary uncle, General Prescott, is hosting a banquet here in New York. We need to play the part of good hosts. Your cousin, Mackenzie, will be there too. I was thinking Chloe could keep her company. And then, the most important part, your marriage. Asher was baffled. What did he mean, the most important part? Wasn't the guest of honor, General Wallace Prescott from D. See? Asher knew of him. According to his father, Prescott and Asher's late grandfather had been close friends in their youth. But even without that connection, Asher remembered from his past life that General Prescott was a key character used to humiliate him and suppress the Vance family. Under Leo Flynn's manipulation, the Prescotts of D.C. and the Vances of New York would become bitter enemies. The heroine, Asher's cousin Mackenzie, would fall for the protagonist and help him take down the Vances. Oh, and she wasn't actually his cousin. The two families used the term as a sign of their close bond. Dad, it's their banquet. What are you getting involved for? Asher asked, exasperated. It used to be that others rode their coattails. Now they were reduced to riding someone else's. The irony was palpable. You don't get it, you foolish boy, Lawrence said, a smug tone in his voice. Do you know how many powerful families and influential figures will be there tomorrow? People are flying in from all over, not just from New York. Besides, your wedding to Scarlett has been moved up. This banquet is the perfect opportunity to make the official announcement, don't you think? Asher got it. His father's calculation was brilliant. The man was playing chess while everyone else played checkers. Since his old man had made up his mind, there was nothing Asher could do. Fine, do whatever you want. Moving the wedding up wasn't a bad thing. It might even speed up the plot. Lawrence was inadvertently helping him out. Nice. Of course your mother and I will handle it. If we had to rely on you, we would have starved to death by now. Lawrence sniped. Asher just shrugged. He was used to his father's barbs. Hiss. Hey, Anya, you owe. Before Asher could hang up, Anya pounced. He'd spent the previous night with the she-devil and had completely forgotten. It wasn't intentional. It was just fate. On the other end of the line, Lawrence's face turned green. His son couldn't go one day without causing him stress. The boy was about to get married, and he was still messing around. This time, even a fool could figure out what was happening. His son was hooking up with that female bodyguard. Unbelievable. He and Eleanor had treated Anya like family, and it turned out she really was making herself at home. What would the in-laws think? This was a disaster. Are you trying to give me a heart attack, you brat? Lawrence roared, pounding his chest. I'm not. MPHF, I didn't. Asher's muffled protests were cut off. Don't disgust me. Click. Lawrence slammed the phone down, veins bulging on his forehead. He no longer held out hope for any major transformation in his son. He just wanted to get him married to Scarlett as quickly as possible. Scarlett probably didn't know yet. If she found out, she might call the whole thing off. This had to be kept under wraps. Back in the hotel room, Asher was on the verge of tears. Shakespeare once said, "There is no death more final than social death." Shakespeare, the hell I did. Tonight's incident made one thing crystal clear. Waiting until evening didn't work. Putting it off didn't work. There was only one solution left: advance payment. A few hours of suffocation was a small price to pay to avoid future social suicide. By that calculus, it was a profitable trade. So be it. The next evening, at the Hilton Midtown in the heart of New York, the entire venue had been booked by the Prescott family. A single night in a standard room here started at over $1,000. The banquet hadn't even begun, but the hotel was already buzzing with activity. Sir, your invitation, please, a staff member said politely. After carefully inspecting the invitation and confirming its authenticity, he handed it back. The staff were all impeccably dressed in suits and white gloves, the picture of high-class service. Dragon King, this General Prescott is no simple man. Look at all the security guards, and some of them are clearly trained martial artists, Manny whispered. Leo Flynn grinned. Good. We need to find a way to get on his good side. Seeing the glint in Leo's eye, Manny nodded in agreement. Most people were eager to connect with those more powerful than themselves, who would willingly associate with the weak, unless it was to exploit them or boost their own ego. Suddenly, Manny remembered something. Dragon King, I heard that the Prescott family and the Vance family are extremely close. Leo froze. Jealousy contorted his features. It's that damn Vance family again. Why are they everywhere? They're like a bad smell that won't go away. Just saying their name is disgusting. Leo muttered curses under his breath, his gaze turning sharp and malevolent. So what if they knew people? Did that mean they could do whatever they wanted? Go ahead and gloat, Asher Vance. We'll see how long it lasts before I destroy you. Gentlemen, your invitations, please, the staff member said with a smile. Manny handed over their invitation. It was clearly a premium item, embossed with gold foil that gave it a surprising weight. He estimated it contained at least 1/3 of an ounce of gold. Fortunately, the guests here were not short on cash. Otherwise, the gold would have been scraped off long ago. It was a subtle flex, a testament to the Prescott family's immense wealth and power. Nearly everyone here tonight was a figure of renown. The staff member verified the invitation and returned it to Manny. "You may go in." Just as they were about to enter, a stir at the door caught their attention. "Hey, isn't that Serafina Hayes? Why is she alone? Shouldn't that Asher Vance be trailing after her like a puppy? You must have just gotten back to the city. I heard Asher gave up on her a long time ago." "What? No way. Asher was head over heels for her, the kind of guy who would have died for her. How would he just give up like that? Are you an idiot? Forget everything else. With the Vances resources, what kind of woman couldn't he get?" The Hayes family strung him along for ages. "If it were me, I wouldn't have even bothered in the first place. You're still the same joker, thinking one look is all it takes for a lifetime." The surrounding guests chattered amongst themselves. A few of the louder voices belonged to visitors from D.C., from families on par with the Hayeses but with no business ties, so they spoke freely. Leo and Manny, with their enhanced hearing, caught snippets of the gossip. Tonight, Serafina wore a white, backless evening gown that exposed skin as smooth and pale as polished marble. If Asher were here, he would undoubtedly have sighed. What a waste not to get some cupping therapy on that back. She wore Gucci studs in her delicate earlobes and carried the latest limited edition Chanel bag. With her natural beauty and poise, a little bit of styling elevated her to another level entirely. The same men who were dissing Asher were also fantasizing about having Serafina for themselves. But they all knew her icy personality. If Asher Vance had been rejected, what chance did they have? Leo stood frozen at the entrance, mesmerized. This was a real woman. Compared to her, the other women he'd met in New York were common refuse. Seeing that Leo had no intention of moving, Manny stood quietly beside him. He knew Serafina was beautiful, but she was the Dragon King's target. As a subordinate, he could look but not touch. A moment later, Serafina presented her invitation. After it was verified, she was waved through. "Miss Hayes, what a coincidence. We meet again." Leo's voice rang out at the perfect moment. Hearing the cringe-worthy opening line, Serafina's brow furrowed. Her tone was glacial. "But I have no desire to see you." Leo flashed his signature roguish smirk. "Don't be like that. I did work for you, after all. I should thank you for taking me back then. Otherwise, I might have starved. To win a woman, one had to be bold and clever, not coddling. Only simps endlessly fawned over women." Leo was determined not to be a pathetic rich kid like Asher. There were countless simps vying for a goddess's attention. To stand out, one must not be a simp. One must display their masculine value. A true man, born between heaven and earth, could never be a simp. Love me or don't. If not, get lost. A man must have confidence. Leo's words immediately killed the conversation. Combined with what she knew from Asher's thoughts, Serafina recognized the pattern. This was the classic, playing dumb to reveal your true power trope. It was a prelude to a grand, face-slapping moment. She literally wanted to vomit. She had tried her old trick tonight, demanding Asher come and pick her up. But he had deleted and blocked her on all social media and phone numbers, leaving her no openings. It was ruthless. Seeing Leo only soured her mood further. "You're not leaving? Fine, I will," Serafina said, her face dark. Leo was baffled. He hadn't even unleashed his full charm yet. And she was already leaving? What was her problem? Was she showing him no respect at all? He had a strategy for this. Just keep talking. It didn't matter if it was awkward. Making her angry, making her yell at him, was a form of success. At least he was evoking an emotional response. Perceptions could be changed over time. The real problem was when someone was completely indifferent to your antics. Leo was about to say something else when another commotion erupted at the entrance. Holy crap, is that Asher Vance? When did he get together with Scarlett Joe? My God, was he Asher in my memory, ever this handsome? Did he get plastic surgery? I'm just saying Scarlett and Asher actually look perfect together. I'm so jealous. Ugh, this is why I hate going out with you. Control yourself, will you? You're drooling. Having you as a best friend is so embarrassing. A bad girl is what every man loves. You from D.C. You must not have heard about the Vance Joe wedding, right? I heard they even moved the date up. It's only natural they'd be together. Tonight, Asher was dressed in a sharp black suit. Clothes make the man, as they say. Though even without the suit, Asher could attract a swarm of women, perhaps even more effectively. But that would be chaos. On his arm was the she-devil, Scarlett, draped in a black, high-slit gown that revealed a pair of flawless, milky white legs. No black stockings needed. The sight of those legs alone was enough to make most men weak in the knees. Gulp. Many of the men staring at Scarlett had their eyes wide, swallowing hard. What man on earth didn't love a beautiful woman? And in an era where looks are everything, the effect was tenfold. A social experiment in Europe had once used a female model, before and after professional makeup, to test this very theory. Before makeup, she was average, and few men on the street offered to help her. After makeup, as a certified beauty, the number of men willing to help quintupled. The same was true in reverse. Damn, Scarlett Jo is gorgeous. She really lives up to her reputation. I still don't get it. Why was Asher chasing Serafina Hayes when he already had Scarlett? It makes no sense. What's not to get? The grass is always greener on the other side. Ow, honey, stop, don't twist. You're gonna rip my ear off. Heh, you just said the grass was greener, didn't you? I'm not deaf, you idiot. That was just a small sideshow. As for why Asher had arrived with Scarlett, it was because she had insisted he pick her up. Most women have excellent memories, especially when it comes to things other women have that they don't. At Jessica Yang's birthday party, Serafina had made Asher pick her up. As the official fiancé, how could Scarlett not have the same treatment? In fact, she had to have it, and it had to be one level higher. Darling, does it bother you that I'm holding onto your arm like this, right in front of the woman you used to chase? Scarlett asked, her voice sweet and seductive, a dazzling smile on her face. The soft, warm touch of her hand, the fragrant scent wafting from her. Sigh, this damned she-devil. How could she smell so sweet? She's being a little theatrical tonight, but it's not a big deal. As for the dumb woman, I never said I actually liked her anyway. Asher was internally flustered, but managed a graceful, if slightly awkward, smile. Not all. That's all in the past. Oh, my apologies. Look at my memory. Scarlett giggled, covering her mouth with a hand clad in a black lace glove. They chatted as they walked, eventually reaching the entrance where Serafina still stood, watching them with icy eyes. It was obvious Scarlett's words were meant for her. For some reason, a surge of jealousy, sharp and sour, rose in Serafina's chest. Sir, ma'am, your invitations, please, the staff member said politely. Asher handed over their invitation. After a quick inspection, the staff member returned it respectfully. Mr. Vance, Ms. Jo, you may go in. Asher nodded. He appeared calm on the surface, but inside, he was panicking. He'd seen Serafina and the smirking Dragon King standing there from a mile away. Feeling the gazes of the protagonist and heroine on him, it was impossible not to feel a little flustered. Not because he was afraid of them, but because it was just so damn awkward. Isn't every new love someone else's old one? And why was Serafina standing with Leo Flynn? Was this the universe's law of attraction at work? The hero and heroine, drawn together by fate? As they passed Serafina, she suddenly blurted out, I have nothing to do with him. The out-of-place declaration made both Asher and Scarlett pause. Asher stared at Serafina, completely bewildered. Wait, what? Whether you have anything to do with the smirking Dragon King has nothing to do with me. Oh, I get it. That wasn't meant for me. My mistake, my mistake. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received +0. 5 stamina. Holy crap. This dog system really is inhuman. Hearing the familiar reward, Asher cursed inwardly. Was it trying to turn him into a machine? Or was it trying to get him to kill off one of the main characters from sheer exhaustion? This was insane. Leo stepped forward, what he thought was a handsome smile on his face. We meet again, Asher. I have to say, I never realized you weren't a complete waste of space. I misjudged you. The words sounded like an apology, but they were laced with razor-sharp condescension. Your family made a fortune? It's mine now. Your money is my money, and my money is still my money. Before Asher could respond, Scarlett spoke up. Well, if it isn't the little security guard, Leo Flynn, she said coolly. Looks like you've latched onto a wealthy patron these days. Finally have the right to enter a high-class establishment? I seem to recall you were just a low-level guard. Or is this just your new method for getting close to women in high society? Brutal. Absolutely brutal. She had exposed his entire playbook, his secret strategy, for all to see. How was he supposed to recover from that? Asher was stunned. The she-devil was a genius, he thought. Leo's mouth twitched violently. He took a deep breath, forcing the smile to stay on his face. That's just your assumption. If we're making accusations, I could also say you're only marrying into the Vance family for their fortune. As expected of the protagonist, even in this situation, he remained calm and composed. His skin was thicker than a castle wall. You probably couldn't drill through it with a power tool. A smile that could charm the pants off most men curved Scarlett's lips. Oh, did I step on your tail? Is that why you're so eager to bite back? Leo's smile didn't reach his eyes. We're just two of a kind. I merely guessed the Zhou family's intentions as well. The verbal sparring match quickly drew a crowd of onlookers. In the past, Asher would have had to play the part of the fawning simp. But now he was free. That identity could no longer hold him back. Whether she's after my family's money is none of a little security guard's business, Asher cut in, his voice dripping with the arrogance of the wealthy. And even if our relationship is built on money, you don't have the capital to play the game. He was channeling the perfect, rich asshole villain. Art imitates life, after all. In this role, he was an expert. Asher's words didn't offend anyone in the crowd. In fact, they nodded in agreement. The man had a point. The Van Cess were ridiculously rich, a fact no one could deny. Who was that guy? Why would General Prescott invite someone like him? So tacky. I hate to admit it, but the Van Cess are loaded. You can't argue with that. The crowd murmured. Beside Asher, Scarlett was beaming. He had stood up for her, tearing into Leo Flynn. Leo's face was a mask of fury. He had been utterly humiliated. This Asher Vance, with his nouveau riche attitude, acted like he was the only one with money in the world. Couldn't he be a little more subtle? Did he not understand that there was always a bigger fish? Patience. Leo's eyes flashed with a cold light. You think you have everything now, don't you? He hissed. Just you wait. When you have nothing, when you are nothing, we'll see who's still by your side. The venue was not just massive. It was dripping with prestige. Men and women holding champagne, flutes mingled, their laughter echoing through the grand hall. Anyone who received an invitation to this gala was either born into wealth or had clawed their way into power. Even the city's most reclusive billionaires made a point to attend events like this. Having money was one thing. Navigating the intricate web of social and political circles was another entirely. Once your net worth hit a certain number, problems couldn't just be solved with cash. It all came down to your network. The right connection could open doors that money couldn't even knock on. When you reached a certain level of influence, you didn't have to work the room. The room came to you. That was the situation Asher Vance and Scarlett Jo found themselves in. Despite their best efforts to remain incognito, tucked away in a quiet corner, they were instantly recognizable. A couple that looked like them trying to fly under the radar was a fool's errand. After politely turning away yet another wave of hopeful social climbers, Asher leaned back in his chair, his expression hardening into a clear do not disturb. It wasn't arrogance or a lack of friendliness. He was just exhausted. He could practically see them forming a line. Yeah, how about no? Everyone just go home. Even the signs from the big D. See, families are trying to get a word in, and you're just ignoring them. You know they do business with our family, right? Scarlett said, a playful smile on her lips. She didn't actually care about the networking. She was just trying to pass the time by teasing him. You know, I don't care about that stuff, Asher said, shaking his head. Scarlett's almond-shaped eyes twinkled. Ticking them off on her fingers, she asked, what about all those pretty young things who came over to say hello? The girls from D.C. are so vibrant. Even I'm a little jealous. You? Jealous? You're the final boss of the villainesses in this story. Asher thought, putting you next to them is like comparing the sun to a book of matches. They'd shrivel up from sheer inadequacy. He knew she was just messing with him, but he decided to play along. Would you get jealous if I want to talk to them? Go on then, Scarlett said, a hint of something deeper in her voice. Don't just talk the talk. The more the merrier, right? As she spoke, a faint blush crept up her cheeks. Asher rubbed his nose. Don't start something, she-devil. I know I've got enough. Never mind, not going there. It's not that I don't want to, he said after a moment's thought. I'm just worried you'd change your mind and flip out on me later. Scarlett shook her head, her eyes locking onto his with unnerving sincerity. I'd be thrilled. She leaned closer. And you know damn well why, don't you? Her tone suddenly shifted, laced with a familiar, theatrical grievance. As the man in question, Asher knew exactly what she was implying. He couldn't help but let out a wry, helpless laugh. He had no comeback for that. He genuinely wanted to be a good, faithful guy, in body and spirit. But the damn ding-ding monster system had other plans, stacking him with so many buffs that he was practically a god. Any more powerful, and he was liable to achieve liftoff. He took a sip of red wine to cover his embarrassment. Asher, it really is you. A familiar, slightly camped voice cut through the air. Asher recognized it instantly. It was the old trainee. He would know that voice even if its owner were reduced to ash. His brow, which had been furrowed in irritation, immediately relaxed. Toby, you're looking good, Asher said with a genuine smile. Oh, stop. You're too kind, Toby Page chirped. He turned to greet the woman beside Asher, then froze. That wasn't Serafina Hayes. His face locked in a moment of pure, unadulterated awkwardness. Asher cleared his throat loudly. Toby, this is Scarlett. Say hi to your sister-in-law. Toby snapped back to reality, nodding vigorously. A pleasure to meet you, ma'am. A real pleasure. Last time at the bar, his sister-in-law was Serafina Hayes. Toby thought, his mind racing. Now it's an heiress from one of the 4 great families. Toby had been living it up lately, indulging in every vice short of actual felonies. He wasn't hurting anyone, just enjoying the perks of being born on third base. Was it a crime to have good parents? Hello, Scarlett replied, her smile poised and gracious. Toby didn't dare look at her for too long. No one from the four families was to be trifled with. You didn't just avoid them. You ran in the other direction. A woman like Zara Thorne could have him tied up, stuffed in a barrel, and dumped in the Potomac, and his father wouldn't just fail to avenge him. He'd probably throw the Thornes a party. Good riddance. I've been waiting for someone to take that little punk off my hands. The Thorne family did a public service today. The thought sent a shiver down Toby's spine. Ash, where's Chloe? I haven't seen her yet. A voice as bright and clear as a songbird chirped from beside them. She should be here soon. Asher smiled, turning to the newcomer. Piper, you're looking more beautiful than ever. Piper Page wasn't on the same level as the novel's main heroines, but she had a classic, girl-next-door charm that was captivating in its own right. Hearing Asher's compliment, a wide smile spread across her face, revealing two perfect dimples. Hee, you're not so bad yourself, Ash. Whoa, wait a minute. As Piper got a clear look at Asher's face, her words hitched. Her small head was suddenly filled with a very big question. The last time she'd seen him at a party, was her brother Ash this handsome? She didn't think so. Did he get plastic surgery? Or am I just seeing things? Piper's eyes went wide. She swallowed hard, her mouth forming a perfect O. Ash, you've gotten even more handsome. Fess up, did you secretly get work done? Anyone else would never have dared to be so blunt, but Piper's close relationship with both Asher and Chloe gave her a pass. And honestly, the change was dramatic. Asher chuckled. Do I look like someone who needs plastic surgery? Piper studied his face for a few seconds. Not at all. A look of dawning comprehension crossed her face. Is this what they call being naturally gorgeous? Gorgeous? I'm a guy. You little rascal. Her choice of words was hilariously off. If you keep teasing me, Piper, I'm going to get mad, Asher said, feigning seriousness. And I'll have to spank you, you know. Piper covered her bottom with her hands and took a half step back, a mischievous grin on her face. Go ahead. If you're not afraid of making your girlfriend mad, be my guest. Scarlett turned to the impish young woman with a warm smile. She found her delightful. Even if she wasn't a main heroine, she was fun and seemed easy to get along with. Besides, there was no unwritten rule that Asher's harem was exclusive to the main cast. Your name is Piper Page, right? Piper blinked, a little stunned by the direct address. Yes. Oh, for the love of. Toby's heart nearly leaped out of his chest. Sis, his girlfriend is right here. Are you trying to get yourself killed? If this were just a friend, he'd have made an excuse and bolted ages ago. Better to let a friend die than die with them. But this was his sister. If she got hurt, his dad would break both his legs. Before Toby could intervene, Scarlett's smile widened, a cryptic glint in her eyes. You know, little sister, if you did that, not only would I not be angry, I'd probably encourage you. Piper's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. Really? Really? Are you kidding me? She's messing with you. Toby was on the verge of tears. How could he, a man of such worldly experience, be saddled with a sister whose IQ was currently in the single digits? Really? Scarlett confirmed with a nod. Cross my heart and hope to die. Toby quickly pulled Piper behind him, shielding her as he plastered a desperate smile on his face. Ma'am, my sister is young and doesn't know any better. Please don't take her seriously. Behind him, Piper gasped. So the beautiful lady was tricking me? I almost fell for it. For once, her slightly effeminate brother had come through in a pinch. If Toby could hear her thoughts, he'd probably spit on the ground and walk away. Fine, I'm done. You're on your own. Scarlett took a sip of wine. I'm not joking, she said, her voice utterly sincere. The more harmless the she-devil acted, the more panicked the Page siblings became. It was terrifying. All right, that's enough, you two, Asher said, stepping in to break the tension. Scarlett puffed out her cheeks in a perfect pout, looking like a little goldfish. It was adorable, and Asher found himself sucking in a sharp breath. The she-devil can do cute now? Sweet, sultry, and now this? It's completely unfair. The atmosphere returned to normal. Toby let out a huge sigh of relief. His brother Asher was a lifesaver. He would never forget this kindness. If Asher knew what he was thinking, he'd have told him to forget it immediately. Toby was about to drag his sister away when Piper's inner gossip columnist was awakened. The internet had been buzzing for weeks with rumors that Asher was shooting a movie with A-list actress Lena and an amateur like Asher starring in a film. It screamed of a classic vanity project, a rich guy with too much money and time on his hands. The movie hadn't even been released, and the hype and hate was already through the roof. Why speculate when the source was right here? Piper pulled up a stool and, at Scarlett's invitation, sat right between them. Ash, I saw online that you're making a movie. Is it true? It wasn't exactly a state secret. Asher smiled and nodded. Yeah. Piper's mouth fell open again, her face a mask of pure adoration. You're going to be a huge star. Only Piper would think that. To everyone else, Asher had zero acting experience. Influential movie bloggers were already predicting the film would be a critical and commercial disaster. Great movie, don't make another one. One critic had already quipped. At a wedding, I can last until the food is served. In this movie, I doubt I'll last 5 minutes. Another posted. Lena is first in line to win next year's award for biggest flop. Asher just waved a hand dismissively. It's not that easy to become a star. If he actually wanted to conquer Hollywood, he had everything he needed. Capital, talent, and looks. It wasn't a matter of if he'd make it big, but when. Piper's tone was firm. I believe in you, Ash. When a movie comes out, I'll use my own money to juice the box office for you. I'll buy out every theater in the city and let people watch for free. Toby rolled his eyes. Oh, my foolish, foolish sister. Even if you give away free tickets, you can't buy back people's wasted time. Please don't throw your money away. Your brother Ash had more money than God. They didn't need to get involved. Asher was amused by the kid's earnestness. No need for that, Piper. But there will be an industry pre-screening before the official release. If you want to come, I'll have the director save you a seat. With the marketing in place, all that was left was to deal with the theater chains. But Asher didn't have to deal with anyone. The line of powerful people wanting to curry favor with him stretched from New York to Rome. All he had to do was say the word, and theater owners would bump other films to give his movie top billing. A little lost revenue was nothing compared to getting in the Vance family's good graces. Oh, can you save me a few extra seats then? Piper asked excitedly. I want to bring some friends. What about your brother? Doesn't he want to go? Asher asked casually. Piper glanced at Toby, who looked like he'd rather walk on hot coals. He had better things to do than waste an evening in a movie theater. He forced a stiff smile. Oh, I don't think I can make it, Asher. Piper shot him a dirty look. Her Ash was being so generous, and her brother was being a total drag. Forget him, Ash. Can I have a spot? I have a lot of girlfriends I could bring. Sure, Asher laughed. It's all yours. Hee. Piper's smile was radiant. She gently bumped his arm with her fist. I knew you were the best, Ash. It was an innocent, reflexive gesture, but to a girl Piper's age, Asher's combination of kindness, otherworldly good looks, and effortless charm was a lethal cocktail. Toby, however, felt his scalp tingle with fear. My dear sister, for the love of God, read the room. His girlfriend is sitting right there. What are you trying to pull? Get in line. No, wait, just get out of here. He kept sneaking glances at Scarlett, his heart pounding. Only when he saw she was still smiling, seemingly unfazed, did he allow himself to breathe again. As time passed, the rest of the guests arrived. A breathtaking figure appeared in the doorway. It was Jessica Young, dressed in a regal, backless purple gown with a daringly high slit that revealed long, alabaster legs. A pair of Chanel earrings dangled from her delicate earlobes, adding to her commanding presence. Beside her stood her sister, Catherine, in a more conservative pale green dress. Kate was never comfortable at these high society functions and preferred something she could actually move in. Separately, the sisters were stunning. Together, they were a force of nature. They were followed by Zara Thorne and her entourage. The gala was filled with beautiful women, but the moment these heroines entered, it was as if a spotlight had found them, leaving everyone else in the shadows. Across the room, Leo Flynn and Manny Marcos were working the crowd. Leo, the self-made Dragon King, needed to network in a way the damn trust fund kid Asher Vance never would. Boss, look over there. It's Zara Thorne and the Young sisters, Manny whispered. Leo followed his gaze. It was true. A wave of regret washed over him. He'd been a fool. The first time he'd met Marcus Thorne, the old man had practically offered him Zara on a silver platter, and he'd turned him down. If he'd been smarter, he could have already secured an alliance with one of New York's 4 great families. Damn it, I miscalculated, Leo muttered to himself. If an opportunity like that ever came up again, he'd say yes first and figure out the details later. You have a good relationship with the Thorne family, don't you, boss? Want to go say hello? Manny asked. Leo considered it for a second, then shook his head. No. Manny looked crestfallen, his mind immediately jumping to the wrong conclusion. Of course. He's the Dragon King. He's handsome, powerful. It would be an insult to expect him to grovel before these women. If Leo could read his subordinate's mind, he would have screamed. It's not that I don't want to. It's that she won't give me the time of day. He knew that if he approached Zara, She'd give him the iciest of cold shoulders. Until he could change her opinion of him, he wasn't going to bother. Meanwhile, Zara's eyes scanned the room, bypassing the crowded, brightly lit areas and heading straight for the quiet corners. Just as she expected, she found him. Without a moment's hesitation, Zara, clad in a stunning backless red dress, started walking toward Asher's table. Jessica Yang's brow furrowed slightly, and then she, too, began to follow. Just as Asher, Scarlet, and Piper were chatting, the rest of the heroines descended upon them. Without a word of greeting, they simply pulled up chairs and sat down, a flock of dazzling, dangerous birds surrounding a single point of interest. The visual was overwhelming. Asher, caught in the middle, blinked in confusion. Who am I? What am I doing? Where am I? One minute he was having a normal conversation, the next he was trapped in a heroine pincer movement. Was there any justice in this world? Was there any law? He swallowed hard, 1,000 smart-ass remarks bubbling up inside him, none of which he dared to say. But no one was more bewildered than the Page siblings. What had they done to deserve this A-list treatment? Toby struggled to keep his composure. He steadied his nerves and shot Asher a look that screamed, Asher, what the hell is happening? Why are we suddenly surrounded by goddesses? They're all staring at you. This does not look good, man. Red alert. You know, Asher, if you don't need me, I think I just remembered I have. A thing. Toby stammered, his face a mask of panic. He was ready to bail. Oh my God, he thought. Are they all his girlfriends? The way they were all glaring at him, he felt like an intruder. If he didn't make a run for it now, he might never get another chance. Escape? Asher's lips curved into a handsome, dangerous smile. Let's go. 2 people can get things done faster than 1. I think I'm good on my own, thanks. Toby screamed internally. But under Asher's threatening gaze, he didn't dare protest. The moment Asher made a move to stand, all the women at the table bristled. Their collective glare fixed on Toby. If looks could kill, he'd be a pile of dust. Scarlet began tapping her fingers on the table. What's the rush? Did you find a mountain of gold somewhere? It's not like we're a bunch of tigers, right? Sister. The bar was clearly aimed at Jessica Yang, who arched an eyebrow. I wouldn't know, she said, her smile laced with strychnine. I'm not familiar with the term. Perhaps you could translate for us, sister? They were at it again. But on one point, they were united. Asher wasn't going anywhere. At some point, Serafina Hayes had also appeared, taking a seat at the table, likely emboldened by the presence of the others. Asher sighed. He might as well stay. If he left with Toby, he'd just be hounded by an endless stream of socialites. At least here, in the eye of the hurricane, he was safe. Toby, on the other hand, was on the verge of tears. He was trapped. He couldn't stay, but Asher wouldn't let him leave. The pressure was immense. If he could turn back time, he would have pretended he never saw Asher tonight. The tension shifted back to the original catalyst. Asher, I heard you're moving up the wedding, Zara Thorne said, biting her lip. Is that true? The table fell silent. Every eye turned to Asher and Scarlet. What's with all the staring? There's only one of me. I can't clone myself. It's the plot. Blame the plot. It's this whole damn world's fault. But I gotta say, it's pretty great. It's a family thing. My hands are tied, Asher offered, giving them a less than convincing excuse. Zara's body tensed. Damn it. I should have brought my guns. She could picture it now, a scene straight out of a movie. One gun pointed at Asher, the other at her own head. Say it. Are you marrying me, or are you marrying her? Fine. You choose her. Great. Then let's be together in the afterlife. Wait, you choose me? That's what you should have said. Let's skip the wedding and go straight to making babies. The other women exchanged knowing glances. It was clear now. Scarlet had played dirty, showing her hand to Asher's parents and blocking everyone else out. It was infuriating. Why couldn't they all just compete fairly? While Asher's table was a hotbed of drama, another negotiation was taking place nearby. Dragon King, let's be real here, Kevin Gao said, a pained expression on his young face. Our last collaboration left a bad taste in my mouth. I did my job, but my payment was late. Actually, it was never sent. But who cares about money? It's the principle of the thing. Leo Flynn and Manny Marcos did not like the sound of this. Manny, ever the loyal subordinate, was practically vibrating with indignation. Payment? He wants payment? It's an honor to serve the Dragon King. How dare he ask for a fee? Manny was about to launch into a tirade, but Leo held up a hand to stop him. Mole, are you in or out? Leo asked, his voice low and serious. It was mostly for show, but he had to maintain an aura of command. Just a few days ago, the so-called top-tier local hackers Manny had found were wiped out again. It was getting embarrassing. They were outmatched and outmaneuvered every single time. If Leo knew that the hackers he hired were being jointly dismantled by Kevin and his sister Reina, he would have exploded. They're using my money to work against me and then extorting me for more? Do I look like a fool? For now, however, he was in the dark. Kevin feigned reluctance. Dragon King, it's not a matter of being in or out anymore. What does that mean? Look, I got burned last time. Trying to catch this red rose again won't be easy. If you don't believe me, go ahead and hire some other top hacker in the country. The more reasonable Kevin sounded, the darker Leo's face became. Did he think he hadn't tried? Everyone he'd hired was useless. They couldn't even get a foothold in the target's system before their own machines started smoking. It was a complete joke. That's why I'm giving this opportunity to you, Leo said, his tone magnanimous. If Kevin hadn't spent the last few days fending off an unusually high number of amateur hour hacks, he might have actually believed him. But even without that knowledge, he treated everything Leo said with a healthy dose of skepticism. The man was a master of empty promises. Kevin just smiled. I'm honored by your faith in me, Dragon King. A flicker of hope sparked in Leo's eyes. This is it. Those who betray me meet a grim end. But those who support me, they soar. And then Kevin paused. But I have to be honest. I don't think I have the skills to complete this mission. Leo, what? After all that, you're telling me you can't do it? Why didn't you say so earlier? I don't care what you think. I care what I think. Leo felt like he was being played, but he couldn't prove it. He took a deep breath. I saw you from across the room and invited you to my table to help me restore the honor of the Dragon's Den. That's not too much to ask, is it? Restore what honor? You were just an idiot who got played by my sister, Kevin thought. Not all. Not all, he said aloud. Good. So finding a way to take down this red rose isn't an unreasonable request, either. Kevin politely poured Leo a glass of wine. Of course not, Dragon King. You're just taking back what's rightfully yours. It's perfectly reasonable. The flattery worked. Leo took a sip of wine and tossed the problem back to Kevin. So what do you suggest I do? Scrambled eggs, Kevin thought. He held up 2 fingers and wiggled them meaningfully. Leo and Manny stared, completely baffled. What does that mean? 2 options? No, that wasn't it. This was about money. Leo's jaw twitched. The gesture was so familiar. It was exactly what? Wait a minute. You're Red Rose, aren't you? The act is over, Manny stepped in. Little Mole, why don't you wait until the Dragon King recovers his lost funds? Let's not talk about money right now. Now, it was Kevin's turn to be confused. Seriously? If I don't talk money with him, am I supposed to talk about my feelings? Manny, what kind of slave mentality is that? Ahem. Manny, what are you talking about? Leo said, shooting him a look when he saw Kevin's expression sour. But Dragon King, he's being so unprofessional. Manny grumbled. Why is this happening to me? Leo thought. If the people you hired weren't completely useless, would I be stuck here begging this little brat for help? Leo clapped Manny on the shoulder. Manny, think bigger. Even blood brothers settle their accounts. This is just good business. The kid knows his worth. If the Dragon King said so, what could he do? Kevin had to physically restrain himself from laughing out loud. Think bigger? You're the king of empty promises. It's a crime you're not running a pyramid scheme. With Manny pacified, Leo turned back to Kevin. All right, Kevin, name your price. It doesn't have to be cash. We can arrange for other forms of compensation. A corner dog bites, and Kevin could almost see Leo's teeth bared. But that wasn't his problem. He'd just be sure to bring a stick next time. He pressed his advantage, his demands growing more and more audacious. The final number he proposed was so astronomical it made Leo and Manny's faces turn black. Was he trying to fleece them? Leo rubbed his temples. Let me think about it, he said, physically holding Manny back. They were out of their depth when it came to cyber warfare. They had no choice but to rely on an expert. Kevin just smiled. You get what you pay for, Dragon King. You know I deliver. Manny took a deep breath and forced a smile. That's what you call a professional, boss. Leo had to agree. Just then, a wave of excitement swept through the gala. A chorus of whispers and gasps erupted. Damn, they must have something in the water in D.C. Mackenzie Prescott is a goddess. Holy, is there anyone in New York who can even compare? Are you blind? Look who's with her. The Vance family's own little princess can definitely hold her own. One's a bombshell Amazon. The other's a petite firecracker. I'm in love. I'd give up 10 years of my life to have them both. Only 10? You're cheap. I'd offer 30, and I'd swear off all other women for life. You guys think they can't hear you? Dude, we're whispering. The newcomers were, of course, the children of the elite, the kind who were more interested in partying than business. A ridiculously beautiful woman had just entered the hall. She possessed a figure that could make angels weep, a tiny waist that flowed into flawless, runway-ready legs. She was the granddaughter of the evening's host, Mackenzie Mac Prescott, but her face, sharp and radiating a cool competence, was in stark contrast to her bombshell body. The first impression everyone had of Mac was of a warrior princess. Flanking her were Chloe Vance and Anya Kuznetsov. Chloe was there on her parents' orders, but she had her own agenda, recruiting Mac to her side. Now that she knew her cousin was also one of the novel's heroines, she wasn't going to let her past life's mistakes repeat themselves. Anya, on the other hand, was there because Chloe had discovered her big sister had been secretly carrying on with her brother. That had not gone over well with the fierce little lowly. She was working her butt off, building an army to take down the dragon's den, and these other heroines were just reaping the rewards. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Mac frowned, not because of the stairs, but because of the bizarre things Chloe had been telling her on the way over. She claimed their entire world was a novel, and that Mac was one of the main female characters. Mac had checked Chloe's forehead for a fever and quizzed her with basic questions. Chloe had answered everything perfectly lucidly. She wasn't sick, but she was definitely spouting nonsense. Chloe knew her cousin was the type who needed to see things for herself. Forming an alliance was just a matter of time. Across the room, Leo's eyes were practically popping out of his head. This woman was unbelievable. She was exactly his type. That body, that presence. It was magnificent. Manny was similarly entranced. Kevin, however, just took a sip of his soda and scoffed. What's the big deal? They just get in the way. I don't see the appeal. Leo and Manny looked at him with pity. He was just a kid who still needed a glass of warm milk before bed. He didn't understand a real man's taste. What a waste. Leo took a deep breath. Manny, that's General Prescott's granddaughter, right? Manny nodded. Yes, Dragon King. Mackenzie Prescott. I hear she's a formidable soldier and holds a high rank. The Prescott family's influence in D.C. is immense. If you were so inclined, I would fully support. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Leo said, waving a hand, though he neither confirmed nor denied his interest. He knows me so well, Manny thought. A woman like that deserves a man like you, Dragon King. Leo allowed himself a rare moment of modesty. You give me too much credit. As the two were patting each other on the back, Kevin interrupted them. The Prescott girl is heading for Asher Vance's table. What? The smile vanished from Leo's face. Sure enough, Mac and Chloe were making a beeline for Asher, joining his already crowded table. When Piper saw Chloe arrive, she jumped up excitedly to greet her. The pressure on Toby became unbearable. He was a complete outsider. What was he even doing here? He had to admit, the girl from D.C. was stunning, but her gaze was so sharp it made him squirm. Chloe, this must be Miss Prescott, Scarlett said, playing the gracious hostess. Chloe had already given her the rundown via text. Mac nodded at her. You must be my future cousin-in-law. The directness of the statement sent a shockwave through the table. Scarlett beamed. The other heroines' faces darkened. Cousin-in-law. That's supposed to be my title, Jessica thought, a sour feeling rising in her stomach. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mackenzie. Please, have a seat, Scarlett said, standing to welcome her. After a round of brief introductions, Mac's gaze finally settled on Asher. He figured they were old acquaintances, and he'd already greeted her as his cousin. So why was she still staring at him? Was it just because he was ridiculously handsome? What's with her? I'm the villain. I'm the man you can never have. Your destined hero is at the table behind you. See him? Oh, and by the way, the smirking Dragon King is going to find a way to hit on you later. After he cures your grandfather's old war injury, your Gramps is going to love him. He'll even find out about his master and try to set the two of you up. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have acquired beginner's mastery. Krav Maga. Upgradable. Asher froze. What the hell? Is this system trying to force me into the protagonist role? First defense, now offense. All he wanted to do was finish the plot and go home. Why couldn't the system find some other host who actually wanted to be an overpowered villain? Of course, these thoughts were censored by the system. The heroines only heard the plot spoilers. They all exchanged looks. It seemed they just stumbled upon another major revelation. Chloe just nodded to herself. It matched what she remembered from her past life. But for Mac, who was hearing someone's inner thoughts for the first time, her mind was completely blown. It felt as big as, well, other parts of her. Chloe wasn't lying. She thought, her face a mask of disbelief. She's not the one who's crazy. I think I might be. After a long moment, Mac managed to compose herself. She glanced in the direction Asher's thoughts had indicated. Her eyes met Leo's. As he was sizing her up, she was sizing him up. If there was such a thing as sparks flying, this was it. From Leo's perspective, he saw a goddess. From Mac's perspective, she saw a table with two grown men and a kid. A wry smile played on her lips. So that's the dragon's den, she thought. They certainly have a different aura about them. Mac's reaction snapped Asher out of his own existential crisis. At least the system had only given him a beginner-level skill. He could handle regular people, but he was still no match for the Dragon King. Not that he ever intended to fight him. He could just stand there and let people punch him until they died of exhaustion. But that was just weird. My cousin is as sharp as ever. She found the protagonist in a crowded room without any hints. The attraction between the main characters in this world is insane. I'm so jealous. By the way, what has she been eating all these years? She's becoming more of a little devil every time I see her. Asher gave his cousin a second look. At the same time, Mac turned her gaze back to him. Do you think I'm pretty, cousin? Yes. And pale. Are you kidding? You're practically glowing. Okay, so if you had to choose between me and my cousin-in-law, who would you pick? Oh, well, that's an easy one. Obviously, I'd choose. An invisible wave of murderous intent filled the air. Asher shivered and swallowed hard. His cousin had learned how to play dirty. The Mac he remembered was never one for jokes. Wow, cousin, you've really developed a sense of humor, he said with a nervous laugh. Your cousin-in-law and I are doing just fine, thanks. Scarlett raised her glass. She's your cousin, right? But not by blood. It's perfectly fine. In fact, I approve. Asher and Toby were both floored. What kind of bizarre power move was this? Toby looked at Asher with newfound reverence. His big brother was a genius. He had his main girlfriend so well trained that she was personally welcoming new applicants to the harem. Where do you find a wife like that? An idea sparked in Toby's mind. His own sister had a little crush on Asher, but she was too shy to act on it. But if Scarlett was serious, a union between the Page and Vance families would be a huge step up. Then he could be Asher's brother-in-law. The thought was delightfully chaotic. Asher was blissfully unaware of Toby's devious scheming. You animal, you'd sell out your own sister? Can't you see I've already got enough for 2 tables of mahjong? Don't add to the chaos. Is that so? Then thank you, cousin-in-law, Max said with a laugh. Their table had become the center of the universe. Surrounded by goddesses, Asher was officially the most envied man in the room. After a while, he realized he'd been completely shut out of the conversation. The heroines were all talking amongst themselves, leaving no room for a villain to get a word in. Bored, he asked Scarlett for permission to leave. This time, she agreed. He didn't question it. He was just happy to escape with Toby in tow. He could have just left, of course, but she was his future wife. Who else was he going to spoil? The moment Asher was gone, the women at the table let their guards down. Chloe also took Piper for a walk around the hall. Mackenzie, when did you find out you were a heroine? Did Chloe tell you? Zara asked. Mac smiled. We're all on the same team here. Just call me Mac. The phrase on the same team made them all pause. I thought we were sisters, but you want to compete for Asher, too? Zara crossed her legs. Mac, do you like Asher? She asked, getting straight to the point. The other women, except for Scarlett, perked up. Mac thought for a moment. I don't dislike him, she answered carefully. I always thought he was interesting. But now, she paused, a grin spreading across her face like a child who'd just discovered a fascinating new toy. Now, I think he's even more fun. The women were speechless. Only Scarlett laughed. Oh, he's a blast. If you're interested, I can show you how to play with him. Really? Mac's eyes lit up. She was just like Anya, seemingly brilliant but surprisingly gullible. Jessica rolled her eyes. That old, which is trying to recruit another one. But she didn't intervene. She was more interested in whether Scarlett's offer to share the wealth was still on the table. After a bit more chatting, the topic turned back to Mac's grandfather. Mac, what are you going to do? Scarlett asked. I can tell you right now, your cousin's inner thoughts are always 100% accurate. We can talk details later. Mac took a sip of wine. If Leo Flynn can cure my grandfather, then let him. As for me falling for him, she let out a soft, dangerous laugh. Not in this lifetime, or the next. Chloe had told her that in the original story, Leo ends up killing Asher. Putting aside her feelings for Asher, she couldn't stand by and let a stranger kill her own flesh and blood. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed through the hall, announcing the arrival of General Wallace Prescott. The lively chatter ceased. All eyes turned to the entrance as an elderly man with a full head of white hair walked in, leaning on a cane. He moved with a commanding presence that radiated authority. Steady breathing, firm steps. This old general is no joke, Manny observed. It was the most obvious statement of the night. Leo's eyes narrowed. He walks like a normal person, but if you look closely, you can see a slight imbalance in his gait. Kevin just glanced overboard. He wasn't interested in the Prescott family. He was a con artist, not a doctor. There was no money to be made there. But the Dragon King was a different story. He was more than happy to play the role of a double agent, helping Leo while secretly feeding information to his sister. It was easy money. Leo drummed his fingers on the table, lost in thought as the evening's guest of honor finally took the stage. A thunderous round of applause filled the room. General Prescott took the microphone. "Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join an old man for dinner," he began, his voice deep and reassuring. After another round of applause, he continued, "I'm a soldier. I don't like beating around the bush. I brought you all here tonight for one primary reason: my granddaughter, Mackenzie. She's reached a marriageable age, and I'd like to see my great-grandchildren before I kick the bucket. There's no shortage of talent here in New York. To all the young men out there, don't be shy. The door to the Prescott family is not as hard to open as you might think." His words sent a shockwave through the crowd. Mac was his eldest granddaughter and a major player in the family's affairs. This wasn't just a social event. It was an open call for suitors. Holy crap. I thought this was a networking dinner, but it's a matchmaking party. Did you hear that? The Prescott family door is open. You're all invited to my wedding. That idiot son of yours is at it again, Way. The general might say the door is open, but everyone knows there are conditions. We're a third-tier family at best. You should probably just try for another kid. Don't make fun of me, old friend. I'm about to be a grandfather myself. I'm going to wring that little bastard's neck when we get home. Dad, do we have a shot? I think I'm in love with her. In love with what? You were at a strip club yesterday. We're a second-tier family, but just barely. This is out of our league. Now shut up before you embarrass me further. But Dad, the general said, "Get over here, you little punk." The furious father pulled his son aside, whispering harshly, "That's not love. You're just horny for her body. You're despicable. You little degenerate." The shameless rich kid was on the verge of tears. His father was right. He couldn't even argue. From the crowd, Asher watched with a grin. "Huh, looks like I'm not the only one getting pressured to get married. My poor cousin." Beside him, Toby's eyes were wide, his heart pounding. Like most of the other single men in the room, he was electrified. He might not be a man of talent, but he was young. If he could marry Mac, he'd change all his bad habits. He'd become ambitious, work hard, and be a model husband. Asher saw the look in his eyes. He knew what men were like. "You want to go for it, Toby?" he said with a grin. "Go on. I got your back." It was true. Mac was a heroine, which meant she was destined to end up with the Dragon King. Asher had no reason to pursue her himself. But helping Toby was a perfect way to annoy Leo. He didn't think it would actually work. Toby was just a minor character, a stepping stone for the protagonist, just like him. But it was worth a shot. Toby's face lit up. He grabbed Asher's hand, his voice thick with emotion. "Asher, from now on, you're my brother. If you need me to walk through fire for you, just say the word." He was a good kid. Asher knew that even in his past life, Toby had bankrupted his own family trying to help him after he'd fallen from grace. He was a true friend. Asher was touched, but there was one small problem. "Toby, are you wearing perfume?" Just a little." Asher's mouth twitched. "My cousin doesn't like effeminate guys." "I'm not effeminate. You're wearing perfume. It's men's cologne. Doesn't matter. She doesn't like it." Toby gritted his teeth. "Okay, fine. I'll stop wearing it tomorrow." It would be an adjustment, but he'd get used to it. "Dragon King, this is our chance," Manny said excitedly. "If we can form an alliance with the Prescotts, our future is set. We could even move the Dragon's Den back to the States." A fire lit in Leo's eyes. Even setting aside the political advantages, Mac was a bombshell. He had to have her. He held up a hand to calm Manny down. "Every ambitious young man here tonight is now my rival," he said coolly. "The pressure is on, but I have a plan. I'm willing to bet the general has a problem with his leg." For Leo, money and connections were irrelevant. The key to winning over the general was to cure his ailment. He was about 60% sure of his diagnosis, but he needed to confirm it. He would wait for an opportunity to present itself, or create one himself. "When will I ever be as brilliant as the Dragon King?" Manny thought with admiration. Kevin just sipped his soda through a straw and rolled his eyes. "I don't get these guys. They're all acting like idiots over a pair of lumps. They look heavy. I'm definitely not marrying a girl like that." Years later, the true fragrance emperor would look back on this moment and slap himself twice. He had been so blind. The gala continued. General Prescott called his granddaughter to the center of the stage. "I heard some of your whispers," he said with a kind smile. "I know some of you may feel your family status isn't high enough to approach my granddaughter, but I want you to think about why you were invited here tonight." The realization dawned on them. They had already been pre-screened. Everyone in this room had a chance. The competition was on. "See, Dad, I told you the general wasn't lying." "Shut up, you idiot. Now go out there and show them your best side. And for God's sake, wipe that creepy smile off your face." Similar scenes were playing out all over the hall. The microphone was passed to Mac. "Hello, my name is Mackenzie Prescott," she said, her voice cool and steady. "I don't care about your family background or your status. I only have one condition. A wave of hope washed over the less privileged young men in the audience. This was their chance. You have to fight me, she continued, and you have to win. The hope died instantly. They were rich kids, not fighters. Why would they need to know how to fight when they could hire bodyguards? A few of them had taken boxing classes, but they were in the minority. What the hell? We have to fight her? What is this, the Middle Ages? Yeah, this isn't fair. Miss Prescott, this is a civilized society. That's what bodyguards and police are for. You guys are impossible, another young man, Chad, scoffed. She doesn't care about your money. She just wants a man who can protect her. What are you going to do if you get attacked? Talk the guy to death. Easy for you to say, Chad. You've been taking MMA for years. You want to go a few rounds right now. Don't be so cocky, man. It's not a good look. If you're not cocky, are you even young? Despite the risks, a few brave or foolish souls stepped forward. The first was a sleazy-looking guy with slick back hair and a doughy physique. Miss Prescott, you're a woman of your word, right? He asked with a slimy grin. I am, Max said with a nod. He rubbed his pudgy hands together. Excellent. But are you sure you want to fight in that dress? I can wait if you want to change. He was just trying to make sure no one else got a peek if her dress happened to rip. Mac glanced down at her gown. It wasn't ideal, but for this guy, it would be more than enough. Thanks for your concern, but it won't be necessary. You sure? The piggish man asked. He couldn't just bully a woman, right? He had at least 100 pounds on her. This should be a cakewalk. All right, then. To be fair, I'll let you have the first punch. Okay, Max said, smiling. She coiled and then unleashed a vicious right straight to his jaw. The punch was so fast it whistled through the air. The man's smug face contorted as several of his teeth went flying. His world spun, and then everything went black as he crashed to the floor. He regretted everything. He never thought one punch from a woman could do any real damage. He just met God, and she had a mean right hook. The crowd was stunned. Holy crap. One punch, and he was out. Thank God I didn't go up there first. Even if you did win, would you want to take her home? You'd live in constant fear of domestic abuse. More challengers stepped up. They all met a similar fate. One guy, Chad, the MMA enthusiast, ended up with a rearranged face. Anyone else? Mac asked, looking at the terrified crowd. Her fists were smeared with blood, none of it her own. If so, just give me a minute to go change. Toby sucked in a sharp breath and instinctively crossed his legs. He suddenly felt a deep, phantom pain. His initial lust had been replaced by a primal fear. If he married her and she got angry, his own father would take her side. Phew, he said, patting his chest in relief. Asher, who had been enjoying the show while munching on hors d'oeuvres, turned to him. Don't worry, Toby. I'm friends with my cousin. I can get her to let you skip the fighting part. No, thank you. Toby yelped, his face pale. Asher looked at him, confused. I've already approved this marriage. Don't tell me you can't handle her. Toby stood up straight, his voice filled with the sincerity of a man who had just seen the face of death. I object to this marriage. Sir, brother, you are my one true brother, but I am very, very happy to be alive. Asher was baffled. Toby, what's with the attitude? You know me, Ash, Toby pleaded, his voice cracking. I like sweet, gentle girls. Mac is. She's out of my league. And honestly, I don't want to be in that league. He looked like he was on the verge of a hunger strike. If you keep pushing this, I'll die right here, his expression screamed. Asher blinked, then let out a choked laugh. Come on, man, we gotta keep in the family. Don't let me down. He cleared his throat, setting down his plate of hors d'oeuvres. He slung an arm around Toby's shoulders and gestured with his chin toward the gaggle of trust fund kids nursing their wounds. Look at them. They're a bunch of, well, they're frogs trying to eat swan meat. They failed the physical challenge, so let's beat them with brains. He leaned in conspiratorially. I'll do some recon, find out what my cousin's type is. Then all you have to do is become that type. It's simple, cater to her tastes. He gave Toby a reassuring squeeze. Don't let the whole beat-down thing fool you. She's actually a total sweetheart. Seriously, if I'm lying, I'm a supervillain. Can't really curse myself, can I? Toby shot him a look that screamed, I believe you like I believe in Bigfoot. He held his ground. He was better off finding a quiet, gentle girl who wouldn't have the physical capacity to put him in the hospital if she got angry. A few hits from Mac, and his flimsy frame would be in traction. Seeing that Toby wouldn't be swayed, Asher sighed in defeat. But just as he was about to give up, a new figure strode into the arena. Of course, it was Leo Flynn. When Mac had laid out her terms, a grin had split Leo's face. This was practically tailor-made for him. Why hadn't he gone first? Because the hero always makes his entrance at the end. Besides, he reasoned, being the first to challenge and defeat Mac would leave a bad impression. A gentleman had to let the ladies save face. And if he went first, These weakling heirs might get the wrong idea and think Mac was an easy target, that all they lacked was the opportunity. Miss Prescott, a pleasure. My name is Leo Flynn, he said, his smile a carefully calibrated mixture. 1 part confidence, 1 part roguish charm, and 2 parts absolute certainty. He gave a slight, formal nod. Leo Flynn? Mac's eyes narrowed, her gaze sweeping over him again. He looked clean-cut, almost boyish. If Chloe hadn't warned her that the man's heart was black as tar, she never would have believed it. This seemingly harmless young man was, in reality, a venomous snake who specialized in ruining lives. You know me? Leo asked, a flicker of surprise followed by a self-satisfied smirk. Mac had been at Asher's table, after all. It wasn't strange that she'd recognize him. But Mac just shook her head. No. Then she added, wait here. I need to go change. A flicker of murderous intent sparked in her eyes, but she masked it perfectly. Leo simply smiled. Of course. Take your time. Enough. A powerful voice boomed across the hall. Mackenzie, I will not have you continue this foolishness. A man in his 50s with a stern, square jaw and an undeniable presence was striding toward them. His tone left no room for argument. Who's that guy? One of the gossiping rich kids whispered. No idea, but he's got an aura. Wish I could command a room like that. At the sight of the man, Mac's body tensed. A polite but strained smile appeared on her face. Dad, you're here. Were you hoping I wouldn't be? Warren Prescott glared at his daughter. Mac suddenly looked like a mouse cornered by a cat. Dad, you know that's not what I meant. Warren's face was like stone as he pointed at the bloodstains on the floor. How many times have I told you to rein it in? Don't think that just because your grandfather dotes on you, I won't do something about it. Mac nodded meekly, like a hen pecking at corn. Warren, is that any way to speak to Mackenzie? General Prescott's voice cut in as he approached. I'm still standing here, and I haven't said a word. Since when is it your place to reprimand her? The imposing, square-jawed man instantly deflated. Dad, I know, but look at this mess. Is this appropriate? The general chuckled, waving a dismissive hand. I think it's wonderful. Mackenzie is looking for a husband. Whatever requirements she sets are perfectly reasonable, and the bar for entry our family has set is already low enough. He glanced at the other young men. It's up to their generation to see if they can clear it. Warren was speechless. His daughter was a martial arts prodigy, on the verge of mastering their family's ancient discipline. In modern high society, the elite pursued money, fame, and status. How many families still practice combat arts? And even if they did, could any of their sons beat his daughter? It was a source of immense pride and an equally immense headache. At this rate, was his daughter destined to be alone forever? Leo Flynn, meanwhile, was being completely ignored. It was utterly ridiculous. Here he was, the dragon himself, stepping up to the challenge, and before a single punch was thrown, her father shows up. He could hardly start a brawl with his future father-in-law's daughter right in front of him. Warren turned to the hotel manager. Have your staff come and clean this up immediately. Right away, sir, the manager said, scurrying off. Warren then fixed his gaze back on Mac. And you, what is a young lady like you doing getting into fights? If you must fight, don't do it here. Go wash your hands. Now, Warren didn't dare argue with his father. Even in his old age, the general's authority was absolute. As his daughter turned to leave, Mac stuck out her tongue in a brief, silent protest. She walked right past the stunned Leo without a second glance. Leo, what? What happened to the trial by combat? What happened to the fight? My fists were already itching for a brawl. I had my stance already, and you just walk away. A stampede of F-bombs galloped through the dragon's mind. Being ignored like this, it was a feeling he truly despised. It was only then that Warren Prescott seemed to notice Leo, still standing there like a statue. There must be something wrong with this kid, he thought. He'd already told Mac to leave, yet this young man was still rooted to the spot. What did he want? A match with him? Ahem. Warren cleared his throat. Young man, I have put a stop to my daughter's little spectacle. Please return to your seat. Leo wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Forcing a smile, he exchanged a few pleasantries with his self-proclaimed future father-in-law before turning and walking away. Warren then addressed the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter was a bit heavy-handed tonight. I apologize on her behalf. If your medical expenses are significant, you may submit them to the Prescott family for reimbursement. I'll have someone provide you with the contact information. Ask the Prescotts for reimbursement? They'd have to be insane. Everyone here could afford their own medical bills. Besides, the guys that got knocked out were just outmatched. It served them right. Ha ha, it's a trivial matter. A scratch. The Prescotts are too gracious. Exactly. Those young pups were out of their league. They had no business challenging Miss Prescott without the skills to back it up. They deserved what they got. Nothing more to be said. They took the gamble and lost. Let them pay their own damn hospital bills. It's embarrassing, honestly. Just like society, the world of old money had its own pecking order. The big families looked down on the smaller ones, who in turn looked down on the even smaller ones. The competition was fierce. After all, everyone was trying to climb the ladder. When you socialized, you did it because someone could offer you something, whether material or social. The onlookers, content to watch the drama, weren't afraid of the families whose sons had been beaten. The logic was simple. When you're powerful enough, others get out of your way. Meanwhile, Manny Marcos and Kevin Gao watched as Leo, who had approached the challenge with unbridled excitement, walked back with a face as dark as a thundercloud. They had the good sense not to say a word. Manny didn't want to piss Leo off, and Kevin couldn't be bothered to talk to the dragon anyway. Leo poured himself a glass of red wine and downed it in one gulp to calm his nerves. Why hadn't he mentioned General Prescott's leg ailment when he had the chance? Because they were strangers. To bring it up on their first meeting would have immediately tanked his standing with the Prescott family. He needed to find the right moment to play his hand. He knew that rushing things was pointless. This required a slow, steady approach. Damn, what a shame, Asher muttered. Warren had to show up and ruin the meet-cute between the hero and heroine. Beside him, Toby's eyes were wide. Seeing Leo get dismissed so thoroughly seemed to have revitalized him. What a piece of work. He used to be nothing but a security guard. What gives him the right to act so high and mighty? Or was he just playing dumb back then to get close to Serafina? Toby mused, his brow furrowed in thought. Asher's mind reeled. Holy crap. Toby, I misjudged you. You magnificent bastard, you actually figured it out. You stumbled right into the truth. Toby, the guy's just a clown. Don't let him get to you, Asher said, a villainous smirk spreading across his face. He was getting used to this role. You adapt to things over time. But Asher's comment only fueled Toby's frustration. Don't you think it's weird, Ash? This guy was so down on his luck, he was working as a security guard for Serafina, and now all of a sudden, he's showing up at all these high-end events? Doesn't that scream something is very wrong to you? Hiss. Asher sucked in a sharp breath. Whoa, Toby's brain is actually working. He's not being hit by the anti-plot-induced stupidity aura. This isn't right. A sliver of panic shot through him. Had Toby's character programming broken? Please no. This isn't funny. He wanted the old Toby back, the one who just happily went along with things. Asher cleared his throat, testing the waters. How did you figure that out? It's simple, Toby said matter-of-factly. Asher felt like his friend was posturing, but he had no proof. He just gestured for him to continue his performance. It's the classic playing dumb routine all those trashy rich kids use, Toby explained. Serafina is way out of everyone's league. She's been pursued by countless guys, simps, her whole life, and she shuts down every rich kid who tries to get near her. They can't even get a meeting. But this Leo guy, he's twisted. He did the opposite, using the humble little guy act to win her sympathy. Nobody pays attention to the little guy, but feelings could develop over time. Who knows what might have happened? Toby paused, rubbing his nose with a triumphant grin. But he miscalculated one thing. Fate wasn't on his side. Ha ha ha. In the end, Serafina still fell for you, Ash. He laughed with genuine delight, as if Asher's victory was his own. Asher was dumbstruck. Toby had said a lot, and yet, he'd said nothing at all. He couldn't help but chuckle. It made sense now. Toby's character wasn't broken. He'd just reasoned it out on his own. Asher felt a wave of relief. Close call. Soon, the lively atmosphere of the gala returned, as if the earlier confrontation had never happened. People went back to their conversations and drinks. Asher and Toby made a lap around the room. Without his personal she-devil or any of the other heroines clinging to his arm, a flock of single, out-of-town heiresses swarmed him. They made small talk, asked for his WhatsApp, and kept steering the conversation toward more suggestive topics. They stopped just short of saying, I'm into you. Let's get a room and see what happens. These women were all attractive, some even gorgeous. By the end of the circuit, Toby's fragile self-esteem had taken a critical hit. It was just too unfair. Rich, handsome. How was a guy like him supposed to compete? You know, cousin, a neutral voice cut in, tinged with a hint of acidity. I never realized you were so popular with the ladies. Asher and Toby froze, turning toward the sound. Mackenzie Prescott was standing right in front of them. Ha ha ha. Well, it's never too late to find out, Asher laughed. And you're looking more beautiful than ever, cousin. They say girls blossom as they get older, and you're living proof. Mac giggled and clapped him on the shoulder, completely unconcerned with maintaining a delicate, feminine image. She might put on a front for strangers, but with Asher, she could be herself. They knew each other too well. His easygoing nature made him one of her favorite people to talk to. "You're too kind, cousin," she said, her smile genuine. They chatted for a few more minutes while Toby stood by, trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. Seeing his friend's terror, Asher abandoned any thought of playing matchmaker. "My cousin isn't that scary. Stop imagining things. Just look at reality. She's a harmless, drop-dead, gorgeous Amazon. You're pathetic, man." After the pleasantries, Mac got to the point. "Cousin, my grandpa's old leg injury is acting up again. Do you know any specialists in New York for that kind of thing?" This was the plan Chloe and the other girls had cooked up. Ask him indirectly, pretending to know nothing. Then, ignore whatever he said out loud and listen to his thoughts. His inner voice would give them the real answer. If she could, Mac would have avoided dealing with a man like Leo Flynn. The thought of rewarding someone so duplicitous made her skin crawl. But she couldn't speak for her family, and they would never allow her to make a decision like that. So, here she was, asking Asher. Asher's body went rigid. "Hiss, you're asking the wrong person, cousin. How could I possibly tell you that the real reason your grandfather's leg is acting up again is to give the protagonist, the smirking dragon himself, a chance to connect with your family? Think about it. Why would your grandfather come all the way to New York? It's to create an opportunity for Leo. And what's more, only the dragon can cure him. Well, him and his hot, middle-aged master, but she's not around, so you're stuck with him. Or rather, he's going to find you. You can rest easy. Your grandpa's condition will improve. I can't help. Ping. Golden legendary event triggered. Karma explosion. You have obtained Golden Cure-All Patch legendary. Patch description. Apply wherever hurts. Cures all ailments with a single application. Asher. What? What the hell just happened? Hey system. Get out here and explain yourself. Why are you always stirring up trouble? What am I supposed to do with this patch? You should have given it to the smirking dragon. It's useless to me. He screamed internally. As always, any thoughts related to the system or its rewards were automatically shielded. Asher, the man at the center of it all, was oblivious to this fact, and so were the heroines. A shadow of disappointment crossed Mac's face. So, in the end, she really did have to find Leo Flynn. "Ahem, sorry cousin. I was just trying to think of a good doctor," Asher said, snapping back to reality. He'd left her hanging for a few minutes. Even though he knew how things were supposed to play out, he had to offer some kind of comfort, even if it was a lie. He mentioned the Zhou family's physician, Dr. Julian Zhou, knowing full well it was pointless. The plot was the plot. It was out of his hands. Mac forced a smile, thanked him, and walked away. Once she was gone, Toby let out a long sigh of relief, nearly collapsing. That was terrifying. Asher was in no mood to tease him. He had his own problems now. This cute little son of a bitch system was always finding new ways to screw with him. He saw its true colors now. It was a menace. If not retrieved within 24 hours, it will be automatically dispensed. Who the hell am I supposed to give this stupid patch to? He grumbled to himself. Suddenly, a striking figure approached. Asher froze again. "What are you doing here?" "Work," Anya Kuznetsov replied, her answer as concise as ever. Looking at the world's #1 assassin, with her perpetually dazed expression, Asher fell into deep thought. Anya was the time bomb Leo had planted by his side. This patch was useless to him, but it was incredibly valuable to Leo. If this played out right, Leo could not only win General Prescott's favor, but also score major points with his cousin. Yes, yes. The more Asher thought about it, the more excited he became. "I've got it." He turned to the still recovering Toby. "Toby, I need to discuss something with my bodyguard." Toby nodded and wisely made himself scarce. "Anya," Asher said, rubbing his hands together with a conspiratorial grin. "I have a favor to ask you." Anya tilted her head slightly, her large eyes blinking slowly. "What is it?" That one head tilt was enough to give an army of fanboys a collective nosebleed. Asher, however, possessed a strong constitution. "So here's the deal. I have this cure-all patch. My cousin just told me General Prescott's leg is giving him trouble. I want you to take this to him. Why don't you go yourself?" Anya asked, hitting him with a soul-crushing question right after her disarming head tilt. Asher almost choked. "Because if I go, you idiot, how are you supposed to swap the damn patch for a fake? This is your big moment." He took a deep breath and forced a smile. "You know me, I like to keep a low profile. Besides, I just picked up this patch from some random place. I have no idea if it's real or what the effects are. If something goes wrong, you can provide me with some cover, right?" He was framing it in the worst possible light, giving his dragon queen the perfect excuse to switch the patch later. Anya might not be able to come up with it on her own, but Asher could pave the way for any scheme. On the surface, It looked like he was shirking responsibility and tanking his own reputation. But Anya heard every bit of his internal scheming. The Dragon Queen held out a delicate, slender hand. All right, I understand. Where's the prize? Follow me. I'll pull it out for you, Asher said after a moment's thought. The system was a giant reality-breaking glitch. While this world had its share of ancient martial arts, pulling objects out of thin air was something out of fantasy novel. Even the perpetually stoic Dragon Queen might be shocked into a stupor. To avoid that, Asher decided to take her somewhere private. Okay, Anya nodded, falling in a step behind him like a dutiful shadow. Elsewhere at the gala, Mac was wandering aimlessly. A 10-foot-wide bubble of personal space formed around her. After she'd flattened a few of the airs, the rest of the rowdy young men had quieted down considerably, huddling together like quails. The terms for winning her hand were clear. Did they have what it takes? They knew the answer. Is that Leo Flynn really the only one who can treat Grandpa's leg? She muttered to herself, her brow furrowed. Why does it have to be him? Why can't anyone else do it? Was it just because he was the protagonist? Did they all have to revolve around him? Like most of the other heroines, Mac initially struggled to accept this reality. It took time for her worldview to shatter and then reassemble itself. Eventually, she had gotten used to it. Mac approached a long table laden with food and drink. She reached for a bottle of red wine. At the exact same moment, another hand reached for it, their fingers brushing against the cool glass. Oh, HM. They looked at each other and both froze. Mac's brow twitched almost imperceptibly. What rotten luck. Of all the people to run into, it had to be Leo Flynn. My cousin's premonitions are scarily accurate. Leo's thoughts were the complete opposite. Talk about seeking far and wide for something that's right under your nose. He could run into Mackenzie Prescott, even here. It had to be his heaven-defying luck kicking in again. The universe was on his side. He'd only come over here to clear his head, and yet, here she was. This was a golden opportunity. A roguish smirk touched Leo's lips as he feigned a look of pleasant surprise. Fancy meeting you here again, Miss Prescott. What a coincidence, wouldn't you say? As he spoke, he fought to keep his eyes from drifting down to her. More prominent features. And if his gaze did happen to slip, well, it wasn't his fault. She was just too captivating, too alluring. Who could possibly resist? So annoying, Mac thought. Heh, what a coincidence, she replied dryly. Leo saw his opening. What was the most important rule of pursuing a woman? Be bold, be attentive, and most importantly, be shameless. If you didn't have the courage to persistently pursue her, could you really say you loved her? He launched into a relentless stream of conversation, pouring her a glass of wine with what he considered to be the height of gentlemanly grace. Such a beautiful evening with such fine wine. Miss Prescott, do you dance? I would be honored if you would accept my sincere invitation for a dance. Max sipped the wine Leo had poured. Why would she be afraid of it being poisoned? In front of all these people, would he dare try something so crude? I'm sorry, I've never been much of a dancer. It doesn't interest me, she said, offering a polite but firm rejection. Leo waved it off. Don't be afraid. Just because you're not interested doesn't mean you can't try. It doesn't matter if you don't know how. I can teach you. His display brought a single phrase to Mac's mind. Unearned confidence. He didn't have half the charm or good looks of her cousin. Yet this painfully average man was overflowing with self-assurance. He seemed to think that if he simply extended an invitation, every woman in the world would swoon and follow his lead. A powerless woman might, but Mac was not that kind of woman. I think you may have misunderstood me, Mr. Flynn. Let me be clear. I have no interest in flashy, superficial moves. I prefer real substance. Flashy moves? An empty vessel? This was great. Leo's eyes lit up. He felt a sudden kinship with her, a sense of being truly understood. She gets me. She really gets me. I am a man of substance. He laughed, his confidence swelling. That's wonderful. I think we'll have a great deal to talk about. Mac's eye twitched. She clearly wasn't cut out for beating around the bush. Being direct was her nature. All this indirect talk just led to misunderstandings. It was so manipulative, neither rejecting him nor accepting him, just stringing him along. It was nauseating. Bang! Leo suddenly looked up, sensing the shift in her expression. Before she could speak, he adopted the air of a profound master. Miss Prescott, your grandfather, General Prescott, appears to be in good spirits. However, if I may be so bold, I've noticed that he walks differently from most people. It was a gamble. Speaking up might be disastrous, but not speaking up would be even worse. One wrong word, and it was all over. He had to take the risk. He'd noticed a pattern. All the exceptional women he was interested in had some connection, direct or indirect, to Asher Vance. When they were strangers, he had a chance. First impressions were everything, and Leo's specialty was leaving a good one. Once that positive impression was formed, people were naturally more inclined to accept you. Conversely, a bad first impression required far more effort to overcome. In the worst cases, it was game over. Mac's body went rigid, the movement sending a slight tremor through her. This Leo Flynn. There's actually something to him. For a moment, she was trapped, unsure of what to do. On one hand, she couldn't let her personal feelings get in the way of an opportunity to heal her grandfather. On the other hand, her gut was screaming that this man was bad news. Which path was the right one? She honestly didn't know. Leo keenly sensed Mac's internal conflict. She didn't argue, nor did she agree. She was frozen. What did that mean? It meant he was right. He was now, he'd say, 90% certain. He left that 10% margin of error for a graceful exit, just in case. After several seconds, Mac's sharp eyes locked onto him. Tell me, how did you know? If she hadn't already been given the script, so to speak, she would have been floored. As it was, she was still pretty shocked. The script was real. Her cousin hadn't been lying. It's simple, really, Leo said, suppressing a triumphant grin. He put on an air of nonchalant mastery and launched into a grand explanation, peppering his speech with obscure medical terms that no layperson could possibly understand. The method didn't matter. If you could talk someone into a daze, you had talent. Mac didn't understand a word he was saying, but she got the general impression. Either this guy was a genius, or he was incredibly skilled at spewing eloquent nonsense. Can you treat it? She cut in, interrupting his self-aggrandizing monologue. Leo paused, then smiled thoughtfully. I have studied medicine for several years. While I wouldn't claim to be a miracle worker, I would be willing to try. It was a beautifully crafted non-answer. Translated, it meant, I know some stuff, but I'm not a god. If I fail, it's not for a lack of effort. But if I succeed, the rewards will be great. After a moment of hesitation, Mac made her decision. Heal Grandpa first, deal with the rest later. She'd cross that bridge when she came to it. Fine, come with me. Mac wasn't one to waver. She either did something or she didn't. And if she did it, she saw it through to the end. The moment she turned, a wide grin spread across Leo's face. Success. He'd thought it would be a struggle, but it had been surprisingly easy. Winning over a goddess was child's play, wasn't it? This, he thought, was what it meant to be a professional. Then a voice called out, Mac, wait. Mac and Leo both stopped and turned. Anya was walking toward them, holding a small, foil-wrapped patch. Oh no, what is it? Mac asked, tilting her head. Leo was just as confused. He shot Anya a subtle, questioning look. What's going on? Anya ignored him completely and pressed the patch into Mac's hand. Here, this is for you, for me. Mac stared at the patch, baffled. What was this? Why was Anya giving it to her? Anya nodded. Yes, for you. A strange, fragrant aroma wafted from the patch, catching Mac's attention. What is this? Leo, standing nearby, caught the scent as well. He too was curious. Cure-all patch, Anya explained. Apply wherever it hurts. Her delivery was as blunt and concise as ever, as if saying one more word would compel her to violence. Mac gave an awkward laugh. It sounded like a slogan from shady late-night infomercial. Leo's nostrils flared. The scent of the patch was incredibly potent and pleasant. Where did you get this? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Mac might not recognize quality, but he, Leo Flynn, sole master of the Dragon's Den, certainly did. This patch was priceless. The medicinal fragrance was powerful even before the packaging was opened. And it wasn't a harsh, chemical smell. It was refreshing, clearing his head instantly. Anya stated flatly, Asher gave it to me. Leo, what? Leo was stunned. Mac was even more stunned. Leo felt like his head was about to explode. What did she just say? That useless trust fund brat got this? And he didn't even bring it over himself. He had you do it? Why didn't you bring it to me first? So I could take a look? Why? Leo's composure was shattering. Was this killing angel of his playing for the other team? Really? Was it really my cousin who sent this? Mac asked, grabbing Anya's hand eagerly. Chloe had told her that Asher sometimes did inexplicable, miraculous things. You couldn't judge him by normal standards. Anya confirmed, yes. He said to give it to your grandfather. Apply it wherever it hurts. Leo was silently raging. This damn assassin. She works for me, not that useless rich boy. Do you even know what the word swap means? Mac's mind was reeling. Suddenly, Anya did something that startled them both. She raised a small hand and lightly tapped her own head in a cute, feigned moment of forgetfulness. Oh, right. Don't tell Asher I told you. He asked me not to tell you it was from him. He said he likes to be low-key and doesn't want people to feel indebted to him. The Dragon Queen delivered the lines with a completely straight face, her tone flat and emotionless. The contrast between her deadpan delivery and the adorable little head tap was jarringly perfect. Mac nodded fervently. Okay, I understand. I'm going to take this to my grandpa right now and let him try it. Too many strange things had happened tonight. She could hear Asher's thoughts. She had learned the truth about her world. But whether this was a novel or not, the world she had lived in for decades was real to her. As for this patch, whether it worked or not, she had to try. Without a second thought, Mac turned and hurried away on her long, pale legs, leaving Leo standing alone, utterly bewildered in her wake. The moment Mac was out of earshot, Leo's face hardened. He turned to Anya, his voice low and sharp. Nemesis, what was that about? Why didn't you report this to me beforehand? The dragon was furious, and somewhere across the room, having observed the entire exchange from a distance, Asher was laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Yes, yes, yes. My hard work paid off. The plot is finally back on track. What is happiness? Happiness is fixing a broken character arc. The fact that Mac's story hadn't gone completely off the rails was a huge relief for Asher. All that was left was to nudge her plot back in the right direction, to give her a little push. And judging by the trio's performance just now, the Dragon Queen had played her part perfectly. At least, that's what Asher thought. The handover must be happening now, Asher chuckled, watching Anya and Leo in a hushed, intense conversation from across the room. His grin widened until it nearly split his face. Then he saw it. Anya suddenly turned, her gaze locking directly onto his hiding spot. Leo, standing beside her, looked surprised, then followed her line of sight. Leo's expression shifted from confusion to shock, and finally, to a deep, simmering rage. He glared at Asher with pure venom. Now it was Asher's turn to be confused. What's this guy's problem? I just handed him the opportunity of a lifetime. And he's not happy? Why is he glaring at me? Did I sleep with his wife? Or, wait, never mind. Protagonists are usually orphans. My bad. Asher couldn't help but grumble internally. He truly didn't get it. Not only was the smirking dragon ungrateful, but he looked ready to bite the hand that fed him. He'd never met someone so shameless in his life. Let's rewind 2 minutes. Nemesis, what was that about? Why didn't you report this to me beforehand? Leo demanded. Anya remained silent, her expression unchanging. This only enraged him further. That useless rich boy, Asher, said it himself. He wanted to be low-key. He probably doesn't even know where he got that patch. He doesn't recognize its value, but I do. And even if that wasn't the case, you could have brought it to me first. I could have swapped it with a regular one. To him, it would have been just another useless trinket. He wouldn't have cared. But to me, it's different. Do you understand? Leo's line of thinking perfectly mirrored Asher's own plan. In other words, Asher had the smirking dragon figured out completely. Anger was one thing, but the deed was done. 1,000 thoughts raced through Leo's mind. Has Anya already betrayed me? I had no proof before, but now. The evidence is irrefutable. Are you a traitor? These thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. Then he saw Anya turn her head, her gaze fixed on something in the distance. He was momentarily stunned. He was in the middle of reprimanding her, and she had the audacity to get distracted. She was completely disrespecting him. But when he followed her gaze, he saw Asher, half hidden in the crowd, watching them. Son of a... If Anya hadn't looked over, Leo never would have known Asher was there. The gala was crowded and loud. Even with his sharp senses, spotting him would have been nearly impossible. Wait a second. Hiss! A thunderclap exploded in Leo's mind. What if? What if Asher never trusted Anya from start? What if he just made up some excuse to give her the patch, then hid in the shadows to see what she would do? If Anya had done anything out of line, her credibility with Asher would have dropped to zero, or even into the negatives. Damn it. That sneaky, backstabbing bastard. He's playing 4D chess. His intentions are so malicious. What a monster! Leo shot a few more venomous glares in Asher's direction. Then, his expression changed in an instant. He pretended he didn't know Anya at all, as if he had just been a stranger asking for directions. As for what they'd said, Asher was too far away to hear. The most important thing now was to distance himself from her, to feign ignorance. It was a pathetic attempt at self-deception, but it was all he had. He threw one last glare at Anya, for show. She had proven her loyalty, after all, by being forced into this situation. For those who supported him, the dragon could be very forgiving. Tell him I coerced you, he hissed. Figure out the rest of the story yourself. I'm leaving. With that, he plastered his signature smirk back on his face and walked away. The scene left Asher completely bewildered. It also managed to briefly confuse the Dragon Queen, though you wouldn't know it from her blank expression. A few moments later, Anya was standing beside Asher, Asher opened his mouth, then closed it. He really wanted to pretend he hadn't seen anything. Please, continue your secret agent business. But while the Dragon Queen might be an airhead, she wasn't stupid. Asher gathered his thoughts. What? What did Leo say to you just now? From any normal person's perspective, it was a perfectly reasonable question. Not asking would be stranger. He said he was coercing me. Anya replied honestly. Huh? What? I ask you what he said, and you actually tell me. Asher fell into a thoughtful silence, trying to parse her words. But then he stopped. He couldn't be bothered to think that hard. The Dragon Queen had clearly completed the mission he'd given her. Hey, why else would Leo have been so angry? It was obvious. When a man himself, Asher, caught them in the act, Leo first got defensive to better distance himself from his agent. In reality, if Leo had just given him a nod or a signal, Asher wouldn't have cared in the slightest. All right, I get it. Did you get done what I asked you to do? It's done. Perfect. Extra dessert for you tonight. A genuine, heartfelt smile spread across Asher's face. He was truly happy. I knew I could count on you, my Dragon Queen, the protagonist's #1 assassin. With you by my side, ready to take my life at any moment, I can finally rest easy. Hey. And with that, my cousin's plotline is secure. Everything will get back on track. The Dragon Queen's contribution to this was immeasurable. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received 1 lottery ticket. Automatically redeeming now. You have won. Thank you for playing. Please try again next time. Thank you for playing? What the hell? Had even the system started getting stingy? Asher scoffed. 5 minutes ago, he would have unleashed a string of curses. But now, it didn't matter. The Dragon Queen had given him a wonderful surprise. You said extra dessert. I want an extra day of the greeting ritual, Anya stated, her face a perfect mask of indifference. Asher, if he had sinned, please let the smirking dragon be the one to punish him. Not this. Don't let the Dragon Queen torture him with her affection. No, this couldn't even be called affection. A kiss from her was a weapon. A gentle assassination. Asher rubbed his nose, an uneasy smile on his face. Anya, how about I treat you to a fancy dinner instead? No, Kobe beef. No, Loasaphant. No, greeting ritual. Yes. The Dragon Queen hesitated for a fraction of a second before correcting herself. She placed a hand on Asher's shoulder. His face turned green. Whoa, here? Now? Are you crazy? He hissed, quickly grabbing her hand to stop her. This was not the time or place. In front of all these people, if word got out, what would happen to her reputation as the world's greatest assassin? Fine. I promise. Tonight, when we get back, you got it. Asher said, the words tumbling out of his mouth. He was terrified that if he hesitated for even a second, she would go for it right there in the middle of the gala. Ha. Wallace, why didn't you call and tell me yourself? I didn't even bring a proper gift. Are you trying to say we're not family? General Prescott feigned indignation. Lawrence Vance quickly smoothed things over with a laugh. General, I was afraid your gift would be too extravagant for that brat of mine. He doesn't deserve it. It was a deft move, using Asher as a shield. What was the point of having a son if you couldn't use him as a scapegoat? Eleanor, standing beside him, smiled graciously. A wedding was a monumental event. You couldn't just change the date on a whim. The Vances were a major family. Moving the date up would leave their guests scrambling. What if they had other important commitments? Money couldn't solve everything, though it certainly helped. Dad, I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. Vance didn't mean anything by it, Warren Prescott interjected. Perhaps this Zhou family's daughter is so exceptional that they couldn't wait to make it official. Lawrence shot him a grateful look. Brothers in arms. He was right on the money. Eleanor just smiled. All 3 of them looked toward the old general. Oomph. General Prescott's mustache bristled. This time, he was genuinely displeased. The mood in the room grew tense. The general glared at his son. Look at you. Asher is getting married. And what about our Mackenzie? Your friend here knows how to pressure his son. Why don't you ever pressure yours? When am I going to get to hold a great-grandchild? The general launched into a tirade. Warren hung his head, murmuring agreement to everything. His posture was one of absolute humility. What could he do? This was his father. Warren's frustration, in turn, was directed squarely at his daughter. Though Mac was a woman, he had always trained her like a man. In fact, she was the one who later demanded an even stricter regimen. His daughter was perfect in every way, except for her complete lack of interest in starting a family. And a woman's situation was different from a man's. A man could have children at any age. An 80-year-old man with a young bride was seen as virile, a bit eccentric maybe, but not a freak. But a woman in her 40s or 50s having a child was considered high risk. At 60, she'd be labeled a monster. The Prescott family was anxious for Mac to marry as soon as possible. Now, it was the Van Cess' turn to placate the general. Wallace, you can't rush these things, Lawrence said. A girl as wonderful as Mac will find her other half. He's right, Eleanor added. She shouldn't just settle for anyone. We can introduce her to some friends, see if anyone clicks. Exactly. You can't force love. Look at Scarlett. She wasn't interested in our Asher at first, but now look at them. Lawrence and Eleanor's words were meant to be comforting, but to Warren, they sounded like bragging. He seethed with frustration. My daughter is going to be the death of me. It's your fault, Mac, he thought. Now I'm getting lectured again. Just wait until you get back. I'll give you a piece of my mind. As if on cue, a familiar, androgynous voice rang out. Grandpa, look what I brought you. It's something amazing. Huh? Why is everyone here? Mr. Vance, Mrs. Vance, you're here too. Mac stopped in her tracks. The smile on her face froze, replaced by confusion. She looked at her father, whose face was so dark it could have been mined for coal. She didn't need an explanation. She knew exactly why he looked like that. Where have you been? Warren demanded. Mac flinched. I was with my cousin. Your cousin is getting married in a few days. And what about you? Warren snapped, crossing his arms. His expression was a mixture of disappointment and impatience. When are you going to get your act together and either get out of this house or bring a son-in-law into it? What? That's soon. Mac's jaw dropped. She thought she had more time. Had she gotten the date wrong? Warren's eyelid twitched. He was almost too embarrassed to admit this was his daughter. Thank God he had 2 sons. But it was his eldest daughter who caused him the most grief. I don't care what you do. In 1 month, I want to meet my future son-in-law. Otherwise, you're out of this family. Crack. Mac felt her heart shatter. Was he serious? A month? Where was she supposed to find her future husband in a month? A year, maybe? No, even a year wasn't enough. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her father had been angry before, but he'd never threatened to kick her out. Now, every other word was about disowning her. She didn't want to leave. Helpless, she turned to her grandfather, her eyes pleading for support. But the general, sensing her gaze, deliberately looked away, a silent refusal to intervene. It was another critical hit. Eleanor smiled gently and placed a hand on Mac's shoulder. You can't rush matters of the heart. When you meet the right person, it happens quickly. If you haven't, there's no need to worry. Our Chloe hasn't found anyone special either. Who knows? Maybe they'll both find someone at the same time. The last part was a joke, but it was a nice thought. 2 weddings would be a joyous occasion. Mac nodded quickly. Mrs. Vance is right. She was so understanding. This was the kind of mother-in-law she wanted someday. Someone who was relaxed, easygoing, and compassionate. Perfect. Warren just shot Mac a cold look, as if to say, don't think you're off the hook just because Mrs. Vance is defending you. This isn't over. What's that in your hand? He asked suddenly. Mac's spirits lifted. She held up the patch, triumphantly. This is a cure-all patch. It heals whatever hurts. It was very expensive. Let's have Grandpa try it. She was essentially parroting what Anya had told her. The room went silent. Cure-all? Who gave her the audacity to make such a claim? The most renowned traditional doctors in D.C. and New York wouldn't dare guarantee they could cure a chronic, years-old injury with a single patch. What kind of joke was this? Warren despised hucksters and their exaggerated claims. Did he look like a man who was easily fooled? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Throw that thing away now, he commanded, his face darkening. It would be one thing if it were just family here, but the Van Cess were watching. The embarrassment was unbearable. I'm so sorry for having such a foolish daughter. I can't throw it away. Mac clutched the patch tighter, muttering defiantly. Warren's temper flared. What was wrong with his daughter tonight? Had she been scammed and was now defending the scammer? Are you going to throw it away or not? No. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to throw it away? No. Mac's own temper ignited. It was the first time she had ever talked back to her father like this. Warren's face turned red with rage. His hand shot up, poised to strike. Eleanor quickly stepped in front of Mac. Warren, it was a heartfelt gift from Mackenzie. Just let the child try. If it helps the general's leg, that would be wonderful. If not, we can think of something else. Lawrence nodded in agreement. Your wife is right. Whatever happens, you can't hit your child. Warren lowered his hand, a frustrated, almost pained look on his face. He hadn't actually intended to hit her, just to scare her. But the impulse had been there. This was the first time Mac had ever defied him. Mac let out a small sigh of relief. Her father was such an old-fashioned stick in the mud, unable to adapt or accept new things. It was a relief that Mr. and Mrs. Vance were so open-minded. By the way, Mac, where did you get this? Eleanor asked, a hint of curiosity in her voice. Oh, this. Mac paused, and a radiant smile bloomed on her face. My cousin gave it to me. Asher, Lawrence and Eleanor said in unison, their faces a mask of pure shock. Oh, hell no. Anyone but him. How could it be their son? It wasn't that they didn't trust Asher, but a patch that cures all and heals whatever hurts was just too far-fetched. It sounded completely unreliable. Besides, Lawrence thought, had Asher ever done a single reliable thing in his entire life? Asher could afford to be embarrassed, but he, Lawrence Vance, could not. In an instant, Lawrence's expression did a complete 180. He beamed at Mac. You know, Mackenzie, I think your father is right. Some things are better off just being thrown away. No use keeping them around. He was desperate to find Asher and demand an explanation. Where did he get this patch? Had he even seen it work? You couldn't just give people random things to use. What if something went wrong? That little brat is trying to screw over his old man. Again, Warren, however, was now smiling. Now hold on, Lawrence. Let's not be so hasty. I've changed my mind. Let's give it a try. What if it works? The powerful man was suddenly enjoying a bit of petty revenge, a mischievous glint in his eye. Of course, he trusted that Asher, for all his faults, wouldn't try to harm his own family. Lawrence's jaw twitched. He could already feel the heavy leather of his belt itching in his hands. 3 days without a beating, and he's tearing the roof off. 30 days, and he's dancing on my head. His son was out of control again. He needed to be taught a lesson. The boy was about to be a married man, a father. He needed to put away his childish games. Eleanor wanted to argue with her husband. Lawrence, that's your son. How can you talk about him like that? But she was nervous too. What if Asher had really screwed up this time? Other mistakes could be fixed, but this was different. If it worked, the two families would be closer than ever. If it didn't, it would be an awkward, harmless failure. But the worst-case scenario was that it would backfire, turning a good intention into a disaster. Just then, General Prescott spoke, a cheerful smile on his face. Since it's a gift from Asher, it would be rude of me to refuse. Mackenzie, bring it here. I was hoping you would refuse. Don't give that little troublemaker any credit just because of us. Lawrence was screaming internally. He was about to say something else, but he saw Mac, beaming, present the patch to her grandfather. Here you go, Grandpa. Before the general even took it, a pleasant, potent medicinal aroma filled the air. Just from the scent alone, it was clear this was no ordinary patch. General Prescott was no expert, but he wasn't a novice either. His eyes lit up with renewed interest. Impressive, he murmured. Lawrence and Eleanor were stunned. What does impressive mean? Is he just being polite? To put our minds at ease? Because it's not working, Lawrence swallowed hard. General, perhaps we should wait. Or at least have a doctor take a look at it first. My son isn't exactly known for his prudence. The general was not pleased. We're all family here. Don't talk like that. I trust Asher. Lawrence, I've known you since you were a boy, and I've known Asher his whole life. I'm using this patch. The matter is closed. The old man's temper had flared. Everyone knew that once his mind was made up, no one could change it. This time, Lawrence really did want to cry. This was it. This was the time his son had finally, truly, spectacularly screwed him over. He unconsciously placed a hand on his belt. The general looked at his granddaughter. Mackenzie, how does this work? Max smiled and pulled over a chair. Sit here, Grandpa. I'll help you. You just have to stick it on. She was thrilled that her grandfather trusted Asher so much. Her cousin was a good person. What bad intentions could he possibly have? That Leo Flynn, on the other hand, he looked decent, but he was full of dirty tricks. All right, go ahead. The general handed the patch to her. As Mac took it, her heart began to race. Sometimes the easiest-looking tasks become terrifying when you actually have to do them. It was her first time, and she had no experience. She bit her lip and took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. I believe in my cousin. Lawrence and Eleanor watched, their nerves frayed. Warren was calmer. He didn't believe Asher would intentionally harm his own family. Mac knelt down, tore open the foil packet, and applied the patch to the general's injured thigh, right over a long, vicious-looking scar. The moment the patch was opened, the fragrant aroma intensified, filling the small space. As it made contact with his skin, the general felt a cool, soothing sensation spread through his leg. It was an indescribably pleasant feeling. He closed his eyes, a look of contentment on his face. Mac remained kneeling, watching him closely. Grandpa, how do you feel? The general didn't answer. Everyone held their breath, especially Lawrence. He could feel it returning, the overwhelming, unstoppable power of his leather belt. He was going to sacrifice his son tonight. A son's sacrifice brings boundless power. Asher had gone too far this time. After a long moment, the general opened his eyes. He stood up from his chair, an irrepressible grin spreading across his face. Ha ha ha. Good. Very good. The effect of this patch is incredible. Mac let out a sigh of relief and stood up as well. She was happy for her grandfather, but even happier that her cousin was so much more than he seemed. She used to think he was just a playful slacker with no real skills. Who would have thought he was a hidden master, capable of producing such a miraculous remedy? She felt like she understood him less and less. She wasn't the only one. Lawrence and Eleanor exchanged a bewildered look. After so many years of marriage, they knew their son's capabilities, or lack thereof. Lawrence's eyes said, "When did that brat get so capable?" "What's going on?" Eleanor's glance replied, "How should I know? As long as our son is successful, that's all that matters." "Lawrence, damn it. That kid has been hiding this from me for so long. He has these skills, and he doesn't use them? I'm going to teach him a lesson." "Eleanor, don't you dare. If you do, you're sleeping on the floor tonight." "Lawrence." Warren approached his father. "Dad, how do you really feel?" He was just as stunned as everyone else. The general was in high spirits. "I feel much better. I can walk with a spring in my step again." Warren's eye twitched. "Please, Dad, just take it easy." He figured the patch had probably restored about a third of what his father was claiming. No, even a fifth would be a miracle. But a few moments later, Warren's face was burning with embarrassment. He never thought he'd be proven so wrong, so quickly. After another lap around the gala, Asher found himself back where he started. More accurately, he'd been captured and returned. This time, however, he was happy to be there. A good mood made everything more pleasant. The starting point was the table with all the heroines. The atmosphere was strange. The women exchanged confused glances while Asher, sitting next to Scarlett, kept bursting into fits of laughter like a lunatic. They had no idea what he was laughing about, and his inner monologue wasn't helping either. It was just a stream of pure, unadulterated glee. Finally, Zara Thorne couldn't take it anymore. "Asher, what are you laughing at?" Asher struggled to compose himself. Her question just made it worse. His face turned red as he tried to suppress another laugh, but it burst out as a snort. Him. It's nothing. I was just thinking what a nice night it is. The moon is so full." It was a terrible lie, but to him, the situation was just too funny. Using Anya's hand to help the smirking dragon, putting the broken plot back on track. It was a beautiful thing. Yes, that was him. Just your friendly neighborhood villain, doing good deeds in secret. He helped people for the fun of it, then disappeared into the shadows, his work done. Okay, he couldn't keep that up. He just wanted to finish the plot and go home. Was that so wrong? But damn, this was hilarious. A full moon? How can you tell? Zara asked, glancing up. There was only a ceiling. Asher was happy, and so was the she-devil beside him. Scarlett took a sip of her wine, then poured him another glass. She guessed that the only things that could get Asher this excited were a trip to the spa or a successful manipulation of the so-called plot. It was obvious. The little fool had found another way to help Leo Flynn. But she wasn't worried. Past experience had shown that the more Asher tried to help Leo, the more things backfired. In fact, Leo would probably be better off if Asher did nothing at all. But what did she care? Asher cleared his throat, forcing himself to calm down. This wasn't a good look. People were going to think he was an idiot. And he still had some pride left. "It's nothing, really. I just thought of something funny. Hey." Asher's words trailed off. He froze. In the distance, the Prescotts were walking toward them, along with his own parents. General Prescott's face was glowing with health, and his stride was powerful and confident, much smoother than before. Asher was still trying to process this when they arrived at the table. The other heroines were just as confused. What was going on? Still, they remembered their manners. They weren't just representing themselves, but their families. They all offered polite greetings. General Prescott looked at the group of young women, and Eleanor leaned in to introduce them. "Ha ha! So these are the future heads of New York's 4 great families." The general boomed. "All beautiful and capable. Do any of you have someone special? Do you need an old man like me to play matchmaker?" The women exchanged glances and shook their heads, politely declining his offer. Mac's face turned bright red. Her grandfather had no filter. She desperately wanted to tell him that every single woman at this table was interested in her cousin. "Grandpa, you're wasting your time. It seems you all have someone in mind already." "Ha! Forgive an old man for meddling." The general chuckled, unbothered. Suddenly, Asher felt a chill run down his spine. It started at his feet and shot straight to the top of his head. He followed the feeling and found the old general glaring at him. There was a hint of resentment in his eyes, like a spurned lover. Asher shuddered. What the hell? What's his problem? I didn't do anything. He racked his brain, trying to think of what he could have possibly done wrong, but came up blank. The next moment, something even more shocking happened. General Prescott turned to Asher and gave him a deep, formal bow. "Asher, What? His mind went blank. What was happening? It wasn't just him. All the heroines were staring, completely baffled. Lawrence and Eleanor rushed forward to help the general up. Wallace, what are you doing? Don't treat us like strangers. That's right. That little brat was just doing his duty. He's supposed to help you. I helped Grandpa Prescott. When? How come I'm the last to know? Asher was utterly lost. The general continued, his voice full of gratitude. Asher, that cure-all patch of yours is truly miraculous. I thought I would take the pain in this leg to my grave, but now it seems I won't have to. It's all thanks to you. Cure-all patch? What cure-all patch? I have no idea what you're talking about. Asher panicked. He jumped to his feet. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I don't know what a cure-all patch is, he practically shouted. He was genuinely frantic. Hadn't he given the opportunity to the smirking dragon? Did something go wrong? The more he thought about it, the more absurd it seemed. This was the protagonist's miracle, not his. He couldn't take the blame for this. If he did, what would happen to the smirking dragon? His loud denial stunned everyone into silence, especially General Prescott. What? If Asher didn't send it, who did? Did Mackenzie lie to me? But if not Asher, then who?